What we do here is go back.
Hello there. Hello there. Hello there, YouTubes and Twitches. How the devil are we all? I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Now, how have we all been? Are we well? All of that shizzle. Quick programming note. You may realise that I have not introduced Christy Winters on the show, even though it's a Wednesday and we usually do that. That's because Christy isn't here. I know, crazy. There's been a somewhat a format change, or a type dealio, schedule change. That's the word I'm looking for. We're going to be going to a once a week type schedule. We're going to be doing Fridays, not this Friday, but the following Friday. So not Friday in 2 days, Friday in 9 days. Will be the first of those, and we'll be doing Fridays. Because, I mean, Christy's got, like, a lot on at work and stuff, so, like, it's, 3 shows a week was a bit much. So we're going to be doing 1 a week from now on, basically. So that's the plan going forward, okay? So then, yeah, and I hope you like the meme I did. I put more work into that meme than I do for most shows. Know that. Okay, that took me a whole 6 minutes or whatever to create on... The noise! The noise happened! What? It hasn't been happening for days, and now it's happened again. I am confused. I am confused. But anyway, to the person who made that noise happen, whoever the fuck you are, let me have a look. Thank you, OG Bounty 1, for being the first nerd back, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know why that decided to... I haven't changed a single fucking thing. Haven't pressed the damn button, and yet it's, for some reason, it's decided to do a thing. Awesome. Anyway, so we've got some crazy shit on the docket, but before we get going, happy Trans Day of Visibility to all of the trans, non-binary, gender fluid, whatever particular label you happen to apply to yourself, or if you don't apply any label whatsoever. To whatever you call yourself, happy Trans Day of Visibility, everyone. Not only do I see you, I love you, and I hope you're able to be you. Okay, know this: you are valid. No matter what the pricks we watch on this show, and I focus on like horrible pricks, and there'll be more transphobia upcoming because we're going to be looking potentially at a Prager U video. Anyway, yes, know that you're valid, and don't let the bastards grind you down, okay? Anyway, let's get some trans rights going in the chat. I usually do that sarcastically as a kind of jokey bit, but let's get some trans rights in the chat. And if anyone has a problem writing trans rights for any moral reason, then please fuck off. You're not welcome here. But you don't have to actually type it. Like, you could be watching this in the background while you play games or some shit. Yeah. But yes, anyway. So, yes, we've got plenty of solid nonsense going on in this episode. We've got the forehead you see on the screen, not this one, the other one. He's been making some bad decisions. The brain behind that forehead has been making some terrible decisions. We're going to be getting into that as we go along. We've got Prager U, who decided to, the day before Trans Right Day of Visibility, to put out an enormously transphobic video. So we'll take a look at that. Abigail Schreier is, I think I'm right in saying, human garbage. Total trash. Yeah, so we'll be taking a look at that. And, oh god, the UK thing. I suppose we should start off with, right, okay, trans people are awesome. But you know what isn't awesome? The place where I live. Yeah, Britain's shit. Not only because it's like some sort of weird turfy fucking paradise. It's very grim. But because its elected politicians are atrocious. And indeed its unelected ones. We've talked on the show of Lawrence Fox, the actor. Although again, if you can't find any acting work for so long, at what point do you become an ex-actor? I don't know. But either way, he's gone on a weird sort of far right arc. Like, what's the opposite of a redemption arc? No, redemption. He's gone on a redemption arc. Anyway, and he started his campaign to become mayor of London. Don't worry, a campaign he's going to be embarrassed in. There's no fucking way anything happens. And he's done so by buying or renting, I don't know, a bus, right? With his name and a face, and a Churchill statue with the mouth bound on it, but it's a statue so it couldn't speak anyway. It's all very silly. And I found someone arguably even more fucking silly. There's this guy. He's Brian Rose, as you can see there, and he is, as we say in these parts, a first-class pillock. Anyway, let's have a look.
So there's a rumor out there that someone's driving a bus around London trying to be mayor. And I got one message for you. My bus is bigger than your bus.
What a cunt. Like, honestly, I don't even if I didn't know what this man's policies were, and I do, but even if I didn't, I would rather cut off my own cock than vote for this fucking atrocious creature. What an absolute arse. Already.
Now look out, because I might have to drive right on through. See you out there today. Let's go.
Now you might be thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound like a very London accent to me. It's not. He's originally from San Diego. He was a banker. Oh yeah, that's not even Cockney rhyming slang. He was an actual banker, as well as being a wanker. In firstly New York, and then in London. That's how he ended up here. And can I just put a plea out to America? Can you stop sending us shit, horrific far-right politicians, please? Because this guy runs a podcast, right? That's how he's sort of known in political circles. And he's interviewed like David Icke, you know, the alien lizard people wearing human suits are running the world. That guy. And he became big because he basically did anti-vax stuff about the COVID response and how he was saying COVID was fake and all the rest of it. And so that's how he's known. And America, look, you've sent us Boris Johnson. He was born in New York. And just come over here and fucked the country up even worse than it already was. So thanks for that. And you've sent us this guy. Like, could you stop sending us your shit politicians, please? Like, it's bad enough that you've got enough of your own, right? You have to, like, export these things like a fucking virus around the world. Could you not? Please. We've got enough wankers of our own. Please stop sending them. Although what was quite funny about this man's campaign is that he and two of his staff, because he's like a multi-millionaire, he's funding all this vanity nonsense himself, and he's running at less than 1% in the polls, he's got no chance. Anyway, Yeah, he and two of his staff were arrested and fined for breaking COVID restrictions during the campaign for this. So, yeah. That's quite funny because he's a COVID conspiracy denier. So there you go. You sent us Milo, so shut it. Well, technically we didn't send you Milo. We were passing on Greece's flaming dog turd that they laid at our doorstep because he was born there. So, just saying. We were merely just sort of shooing him along. Yeah, he was born in New York. Yes, Boris Johnson was born in New York. Although he, what do you call it? Got rid of his renounced his American citizenship, not because he loves Britain, but because he wanted to get out of paying tax in America. Yeah, he's that kind of guy. Anywho, talking of nonsense runs for office that aren't going to work, our old friend Count Dankula. Do you remember this guy? He was relevant. Notice the word "was" in that sentence. Yes. Nazi pug thug, and can we just take a second to absorb the phrase Nazi pug thug? What a fucking delicious series of words. Honest to God. Siparsky's back at it again. Doesn't miss a beat, the lad. I'm glad you're watching. You've clearly got like text fucking alerts for me, and I appreciate your support, my friend. Thanks for the clicks. Anyway, Nazi pug thug, who taught girlfriend's pet salute to stand at Scottish Parliament elections. Because this is the thing. On May the 6th this year, there are local elections for local councils and stuff. There's Scottish Parliament elections. I believe there are Welsh elections as well for the Welsh Assembly. And, of course, the London mayoral race. So there's a lot of weird shit going down. Mark Meechan was fined £800, about $1,000 for recording his pug Buddha raising his paw in response to statements such as "Gas the Jews" and "Sig Heil." This is the face of modern Britain, everyone. Fun times. Fun times. A Scot who... well, first off, you don't really need to put "a Scot," but okay. A Scot who taught his girlfriend's dog to raise his paw in a Nazi salute is to stand at the Scottish elections. That's the sentence from before. He was found guilty in 2018 of posting material that was grossly offensive and anti-Semitic and racist in nature, in an offence aggravated by religious prejudice. Meechan will contest the Motherwell and Wishaw constituency, which is currently held by Claire Adamson, of the Scottish National Party, with a majority of 6,000, which is good luck with that then, Marcus. The video blogger, who posts under the name Count Dankula, because, you know, edgy, he's an edgy boy, to his hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube, is standing for the little-known Scottish Libertarian Party. And yes, that is as stupid as it sounds. Abso-fucking-lutely. What are we doing here? What? Sorry. Hang on. What am I looking for? Sorry. No, hang on. Stop getting distracted by the chat. They're garbage, Kev. You don't need to listen to them. By the way, if you want to contribute to my computer fund, always pick the best time. Always butter them up and then ask. Right, this is amazing. The Scottish Libertarian website claims, quote, "We all know that government is a cancer." Can I get some C's in chat for cancer, please? The government is a cancer. So, let me get this straight. You think government is a cancer, and yet you're running to be in the government. You're running for office to become part of an organisation that you consider to be cancer. So, I mean, you think you're cancer. Now, to be fair, I agree. I think you are cancer. But you shouldn't be putting that as your sales pitch. Vote for us. We think we're potentially cancer. We think we're worthy of cancer. Like, come on. Quote, But it will not go away simply by ignoring it. If our people are not there throwing a spanner in the works, so they're admitting already up front they're going to be really good in government, they're not going to go anywhere, it doesn't matter. But then it will continue to tax you and make illiberal legislation that will force you to comply with. The Record asked Meakin if he could confirm he was standing in the Motherwell and Wishaw constituency. He replied, "It's just some extremely handsome guy with the same name as me." Which, to be fair, is quite good. Like, you've got to hand it to him on that one. That is pretty good. That is pretty decent as a piece of trollery. Asked why voters should back him in May, he said, "I think everyone deserves freedom of speech." Because, he's really in depth. After all these years in politics, he's still, he's got 2 lines. He knows 2 words at this point. The freedoms and the liberties. Individual liberty, literally, fuck's sake, and autonomy over their bodies and lives. The current Scottish Government is not only not delivering that, but actively trying to prevent it, because protecting their own power matters more to them than the human rights of the people they are supposed to serve. Meakin previously stood for UKIP at the 2019 European elections, where he was named 4th on the Scotland-wide list. The anti-European movement did not return any MEPs after winning 1.9% of the vote, which is hilarious. The controversial social media figure said last year that he'd raised more than £193,000 because people are fucking stupid. Through a crowdfunding page to pay for legal fees to fund appeals against his conviction and sentence. In a video posted to his YouTube channel, he said the legal challenges so far had cost £140,000, and the latest bid to have the case heard at the Strasbourg court would cost around £50,000. Now, this is enormously cheeky on his part because he stood for UKIP, which wanted Britain out of the European Union, and is now appealing to the European Court of Human Rights. Okay. He set up a poll for his donors on a vote as to whether he should press ahead with the legal route, which won't work, by the way, obviously, or donate the remaining money to a children's hospital. Now, any normal set of people would say, you have no chance of winning your case at the European Court of Human Rights, and it's hypocritical for you to even fucking try, so give the 50 grand to a children's hospital. Guess which way his fucking supporters went. More than 75,000 people took part in the vote, with more than 95% in favour of him continuing the appeal. Just pissing away the £50,000, rather than giving it to, like, a children's hospital. I know. I know. I know it's not a European Union court. My point is, he was arguing in favour of us not having these foreign unelected bodies ruling over us, is the point I'm making. I know it's not technically... That's why it's still... This case still goes to that, because it's not an EU body. I know. Calm down. But thank you, but calm down. So anyway, yeah, Count Dankula, fucking moron. As always. But it gets worse. Britain always, when you think it's scraped the bottom of the barrel, finds a way to power drill through the bottom of the barrel. Today was released a 200-and-something page report, which I haven't read, because fuck that noise, it's a total whitewash. And it's referred to, what's the official title was, the United Kingdom Government's Commission on Race and Ethnic Disparities. And this is from the front page of the Daily Mail. Britain's Race Revolution. Landmark report says UK, a model to the world on diversity, and finds no evidence of institutional racism. So, a government, many of whose members, including Boris Johnson, had previously said that they didn't consider that there was any institutional racism in Britain whatsoever, commissioned a report that gave them the answer they wanted. Crazy! Fuck me. This is the biggest whitewash fucking disgrace I've ever seen. And a waste of taxpayers' money to boot. Fuck me. And the beautiful thing is, I don't even need to read the whole report, because instantly I know exactly what this is about, right? This is a segment from the report, which, if that... Oh, it's not quite on the screen, is it? Let me have a look. There we go. Another example of overly pessimistic narratives. So that's the point with this government. If you try and point out anything that's wrong with the country, you're talking the country down. Unpatriotic, all that bollocks. Anyway. Heightened by the COVID-19 pandemic has been on race and health. The increased age-adjusted risk of death from COVID-19 in Black and South Asian groups has widely been reported as due to racism and as exacerbating existing health inequalities. Now, that seems like a fairly open and shut case. Far more Black and South Asian people have contracted the disease and have died from the disease than their white counterparts in the population. That would seem to me to be, a pretty open and shut case. Like, that doesn't need to be that deeply dived into to see, oh, maybe there's a racial component to what's going on there. Stick with this, though. The word however here does an inordinate amount of lifting. However, many analyses have shown that the increased risk of dying from COVID-19 is mainly due to an increased risk of exposure to infection. So, because Black and Asian people, because of the social conditions in which they're forced to live, are more exposed to and therefore contract the disease more, they die more. And that somehow isn't to do with structural racism in the system. Curious. It seems to me that the word however there is a lie, because the however doesn't distinguish from the original point that Black and South Asian people have been dying of the disease because of structural racism. Intriguing. Now, I bring you on to this gentleman. His name is Thomas Sowell. Tony Sowell, not to be confused with Thomas Sowell in America, the black guy who whitewashes stuff for white America. Now, although they do basically perform the same function, because Tony Sowell is a black guy as well, right? They provide the same function for their individual countries. That being that they're a black face to put up front to lend an air of racial and, in theory, educational or intellectual cover, albeit very thin fucking veil of intellectual cover, for the whitewashing of race relations issues in the country. A way of trying to... I mean, you might call them Uncle Toms. You might do. I wouldn't do that. That would be terrible. But you might call them that. My black friend used a rather more robust term, which is the second half of the word raccoon. Anyway, I won't go into it though. So, Tony Sowell, who was the head of the race and what was it called again? Bollocks. Race and Ethnicity Disparity Commission. Right. Now, you would think, if you wanted to actually get to the bottom of exactly what was going on in terms of race and ethnicity disparities, yeah, choosing a black person to head the commission is a good idea. I think that's probably wise. Choosing one who has avidly already come to his conclusion before you've even put him out there is a bit ridiculous. Because, as you see there, in July 2020, Sowell was appointed chair of the government commission, tasked with... hang on, oh, we can blow this up a little bit more, can't we? Can't we just... Oh, that's not right. That's not right at all, Curve. You bollocks that up. Clicked on the wrong fucking thing there at all, didn't I? Oh, for fuck. There we go. Fucking Christ. Right. So in 2020, he was announced as appointed the Government Commission Chair for Race Disparity in the UK. Instantly, he was criticised by the Muslim Council of Britain, who pointed out that he was keen on downplaying race disparities. Now, why would they say that? Why would they say that this intellectual man of colour, Tony Sewell, wanted to downplay race problems in Britain? Oh, that's because he's got literally a career of doing so. That's literally what he does. In 2010, Sewell wrote an article in Prospect magazine, which is a general sort of politics magazine here in the UK, in which he argued that, quote, much of the supposed evidence of institutional racism is flimsy. There you go. So basically, he was just going to be giving the government exactly what they wanted. They had an idea in mind, which was, come up with a study that tells us that racism isn't a structural problem in the UK, and they found a man who already believed that and who told them that. I'd say that's enormously dishonest, intellectually bankrupt in the highest order, but you know, that's just me. Crazy. Anyway, he added, I do think some of the disparities there may not have origins in race, but be rooted in class, different geographies, or different powers, whatever the fuck that means. He also said, not that this is necessarily wrong from a racial point of view, but it's still disgusting. He said back in the 90s, we heterosexuals are sick and tired of tortured queens playing hide-and-seek around their closets. Homosexuals are the greatest queer bashers around. No other group of people are so preoccupied with making their own sexuality look dirty. Now, to be fair, he did apologise for those comments many years later. But, he did also say that. So not exactly a person who has a committed approach to equality at the heart of his thinking. Definitely not. And he was the one who authored this report, which is arguably the most corruptly put together report since the 1776 Commission, which we went over on stream. Do you remember that? Yeah, this is probably about as dishonest and whitewashy as that. I despise my country. Crazy, I know. I'll probably be putting the stocks for that because I'm not fucking a flag or whatever. Anyway, where are we? Ooh, come on, come on, Linky Link. So we'll move on to another story, shall we? Now this one is arguably as grim, but slightly funny because of Schadenfreude. Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, he of the fucking gigantic forehead. The Trump stan extraordinaire. Matt Gaetz. Congressperson for the great state of Florida, and I say the word great in quotation marks there. He's potentially in a little bit of trouble. Because it turns out he may be a little bit of a sex pest, a little bit of a sex trafficker, a little bit of a pedophile. Crazy, I know. Who'd have thought it? A guy who was obviously in an enormously inappropriate relationship with a young Cuban man, and also is best friends with, or best lapdogs of Donald Trump, who was a pedophile, who was also friends with Jeffrey Epstein, the now late, very pedophile. I know, crazy. Who could have seen it coming? Certainly not Q. Oh no, the Q people, do you remember those people, the crazy motherfuckers who will make all kinds of leaps and bounds in logical nonsense, gymnastics of the mental kind, if you get what I mean, in order to try and smear their political opponents, for some reason seem to think this obvious nonce, this obvious child fucker, it's just too far-fetched that he might have fucked a child. Crazy. Anyway, the prominent Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz reported relationship with a 17-year-old girl remained under scrutiny on Wednesday, despite Tiny monkey army. Despite his insistence in an appearance on Fox News, which we will be watching, it's fucking mental, that the allegation was verifiably false. He has not verified this so far. Raven G. Don't forget the time he was the only congressman who voted against no on an anti-sex trafficking bill. 100 bits. Oh no. I think it might come up. Yeah. The Florida politician, a close ally of Donald Trump, claimed during the Tuesday night interview that he was the victim of an extortion plot by a former Justice Department official and questioned the motivation behind Tuesday's original reporting by the New York Times. Now, there's so much to go over with this, because the thing is, right, he's been accused of this. Now, of course, accusing a person of something doesn't necessarily mean anything. So he was offered an incredibly, ludicrously softball interview by Tucker Carlson. And Matt Gaetz made it a million times worse for himself. He made it so much worse for himself. Oh my God. I don't know who Matt Gaetz' lawyer is, but they are definitely tearing their fucking hair out right now. They definitely are. Mad. Oh, by the way, did I say thank you to Raven G? Or I read your message here. Thank you. Enormously. I might as well do some shilling, I suppose. Yeah, you can follow me on YouTube, follow me on the Twitches, you can subscribe to me on the Twitches. If you've got an Amazon Prime, link it to your Twitch account for free. You get one free subscription every month. You can give me $5 of Jeff Bezos' money. We can have that motherfucker in the poorhouse that doesn't exist anymore because it's not the Victorian era. Anyway, we can have him poor in no time. There's also bits. You can give me bits. There's the Streamlabs link. It's beneath both of these videos. Streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875 for your super chats. Because unlike Stephen Crowder, YouTube aren't going to play softly with me. I've been demonetized and will never get it back. So if you want to help support the channel, there's that option for you. There's also Thank you, nerd. Thank you, nerd. Anyway, there's also the Patreon. If you want to give a regular monthly donation, it's linked below. Thank you. Thank you to Defix11 for following me on the Twitch machines. Mucho apreciado. Welcome aboard. Anyway, yes. So, Matt Gaetz, he went on with Tucker Carlson, and it was so weird. It was so fucking weird. Like, even for Matt Gaetz, this was weird, right? This was fucking crazy shit. Right, let's take a look.
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon.
Look, and he wasn't even tested by Tucker. Like, a good journalist would have been probing his questions and probing his like answers and asking him why there's no fucking evidence of any of this, of any of his like fucking bullshit. And Tucker did none of that because Tucker Carlson isn't a fucking isn't a journalist. But so he had an open goal and managed to miss. He managed to not only miss, he kicked himself in the bollocks at the same time. It's amazing.
The New York Times ran a story saying that Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is under federal investigation for playing some role in sex trafficking and potentially having a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. There are very few details.
Also, it's quite funny, as Raven G, who gave me bits, pointed out, he was the only member of Congress not to vote for an anti-sex trafficking bill, which, like, usually you're supposed to declare your interest. If you have a particular interest in a topic because of financial dealings or personal dealings, you're supposed to reveal that. But he didn't reveal the sex trafficking thing, which is poor form for a parliamentarian. Globo homo, globo homo, globo homo. Thank you to Ori81 Braqua Dragon for gifting 2 subs. 2 subs. Legend. Anyway, yes, so Matt Gaetz, certifiable fucking pedo, nonce boy. Let's see what he's up to. Look at that fucking forehead as well. Look at it!
News outlets tonight about this story. We have no background on it all and not even any very informed questions. Instead, we've invited Congressman Gaetz on the show to respond to these stories and give us his view of them. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can...
Note he said 17-year-old woman. That's very specific language, because the question was, did you travel with a 17-year-old girl? A child. That's the issue. If she was a woman, fine. That's not sex trafficking. That's just you paying for your partner's travel. That's fine. If you were fucking a child, not only is that obvious pedophilia, but that's then sex trafficking because you're taking them across state lines and such. Yeah, it's pretty gross. Pretty fucking gross.
You can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction.
So, he's now revealing some weird shit about supposedly his dad being wiretapped. Now, that wasn't out there, so he's thrown this case under the bus. The federal investigation into this is now completely fucked. So if this is true, which obviously it isn't, he's throwing all the defences at the wall he possibly can, it's nonsense. But if that were true, that would be him throwing that federal investigation into pig shit. Which, I don't know about you, but wasting time and money from the FBI, they're not big on that. They're not massively fond of it. Thank you to Elysian Gauntlet, who said, hype, 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 hype. That was supposed to be hype, not pipe. But there you go. Anyway. Oh, Gepisar. No, Siparsky's back in touch again. Pure dipshits loser. Thanks.
Which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true.
How? Dear friend.
A tiny monkey army couldn't hold me back.
Thank you. Matt, how would audio recordings of your father made at least 2 months after the alleged transportation of a child you were having sex with across state lines into Washington, D.C., how the fuck is that recording supposed to prove wrong travel records? Because last time I learned, you can't just speak words and make the logs of flights from Florida to Washington, D.C. disappear. Because that's not how that fucking works. There's nothing there. There's nothing that you can't... Like, that can't disprove the thing. It could disprove some personal thing that you did or whatever, but it can't make those travel documents disappear. That's nonsense. What the fuck is wrong with you? You mental case. Thank you to Ori81 Barakwa Dragon. I'm probably mispronouncing that name, but anyway. Bits for transvisibility. Yes. Transvisibility. Again, I covered it at the start, but you're visible and you're loved. And fuck scumbags like Gaetz who would disagree.
They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money. And this former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted by my father so that specific instructions could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight, somehow, the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me, and ruining the investigation that would likely result in one of the...
No. They didn't do that. No. Because the investigation of you is ongoing. That's fine. That's not being affected by this. You saying, oh, the FBI have been wiretapping people, might alert the person that in theory exists but realistically doesn't, who's bribing you, which isn't really happening. That person that you're not going down with the plan. You see how you're revealing an ongoing investigation, which has fucked the investigation, and the New York Times didn't? Crazy.
Former colleagues of the current DOJ being brought to justice.
Also, he's suggesting here that there's a massive ongoing campaign to fuck him over by the Department of Justice, which when this investigation started was run by Bill Barr, who was massive allies with both Donald Trump and Matt Gaetz. So apparently Bill Barr is in on it. Because this investigation started under Donald Trump. Yeah. Not that Donald Trump would have known about it, because Donald Trump would have had to have done his job in order to have any chance of knowing about it, but he didn't. Like he was too busy playing golf or molesting children or something, I don't know.
For trying to extort me and my family.
So a couple of obvious questions that come to mind, and again, just to restate.
Yeah, for some reason the hype train didn't work again. The hype train is very sensitive. I don't know why. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
Just happened, don't have any other information beyond what we've already said and you have said. First of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. He was a top official in the leadership.
By the way, it's been revealed, he named him personally there, but it's been revealed David McGee isn't any part of the investigation at all. So again, he's just lied. Made up shit about... Thank you. Where are we? Where's McGee? Where's the McGee bit? Here we go. So he mentioned McGee there, didn't he? Yeah, so here we go. That former DOJ official, Tim McGee, later told the Daily Beast that Gaetz' claims are false, and a blatant attempt to distract from the fact that Matt Gaetz is apparently about to be indicted for sex trafficking underage girls.
Now, Mr. Gaetz, Congressman Gaetz, has made this extortion allegation. He's named somebody who he says is the guilty party who's trying to extort he and his family for money to try to make this go away. And again, I have no idea about the veracity of those allegations. And as you say, with the timeline, it's important to understand that these may be two very separate stories. But the person that he's named, is that a person who was involved with the Justice Department investigation? Gaetz is essentially claiming that these are false charges trumped up against him, and somebody involved in trumping up these charges against him then tried to extort money from him. Is the person that he's named somebody involved in this investigation?
No, that person is not involved in the investigation. That person is currently in private practice and does not work at the Justice Department.
Fuck me. Not even involved with the Justice Department at all. So not only are you now facing potentially sex trafficking charges, but you might end up losing millions of dollars to this man who might sue you for defamation of character and obvious slander. You stupid four-headed bastard. I mean, we're all four-headed, but not quite in that way. And look at Tucker. You can just freeze frame it any time, and Tucker Carlson looks like... I don't even know. Like a weird... No, like a composite face that hasn't quite worked. Like a composite face that just looks a bit off, you know?
In the Northern District of Florida as a prosecutor, he currently works at the Beggs and Lane law firm. As a matter of fact...
Yeah, he did just dox the guy, yeah. On live, national, and indeed international television.
The recordings that was made at the FBI and Department of Justice request occurred at that law firm, and the money that was supposed to be paid today that would have shown even more evidence of David McGee's work in this extortion scheme, that was foiled by the New York Times story, and I believe that's why this...
No, they're two different... Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is so weird. Like, for once, Tucker Carlson has a reason to look baffled, because this is nonsense. He's just... I don't know why he felt this was a good approach to take. It's...
This horrible information and these terrible allegations have been...
But it gets more bizarre. Don't worry. It gets way more bizarre. Thank you to eDublin31 for following.
This evening.
So you're, and I'll get to the investigation in a sec, but you're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed. He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying?
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claimed to have specific connections.
How? He wasn't even working at the Department of Justice. What the fuck is wrong with you? At least choose someone who does work at the place. God. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, no.
Inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's
But by the way, this starts in the Trump White House, so it's irrelevant.
True. They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I have not done anything improper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the
citation needed on that one.
Real motivation for all of this. You know, just tonight, Ted Lieu, a Democrat, is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee. And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, so you know what this feels like. You know the pain.
What the fuck are you doing? I'm not the only accused rapist here, Tucker. He's trying to drag Tucker down with him or something. This is the most mental fucking thing. Oh, God. Oh. Now, the thing is, he's talking possibly about sexual assault allegations that happened about 20 years ago. There was a woman who was quite mentally unwell, who had never met Tucker Carlson and made an accusation against him. Now, most of his viewers probably didn't know that, because I didn't know that. I had to read that in articles. So he's literally just saying, I'm not the only one who's been accused of raping someone. What the fuck? Way to get him on side. Oh, I need to breathe. Fucking hell. Oh, that is. Oh, Tucker. He's turned to fuck me. And by the way, if Matt Gaetz thought he was going to take Tucker down with him, we'll get to it later, but it's not quite.
It can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful, but it did not happen, it is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is...
See, Tucker didn't want to say that, did he? Tucker really didn't want to be like opening that can of worms again. Yeah, do you remember, Tucker? Do you remember that shitty thing that happened to you 20 years ago? I'm just going to drag that up in the middle of the conversation for no real reason. Fuck it.
It's one of the worst things that can happen, and you do see it a lot. Let's go back to the investigation.
You don't see it that often, Tucker. Calm yourself.
You say
also,
that it was...
you work for Fox News, who are happy to cover up sex crimes by various of their staff, so shush.
That it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact...
So again, he's trying to drag Tucker Carlson in. You were at dinner. Do you remember when you were at dinner and you're now a material witness to the crimes that I'm being convicted of? Tucker, do you remember that? Do you remember that, Tucker? Do you remember how you're now a part of this investigation now, Tucker? And the FBI are probably going to contact you about my child sex trafficking thing, Tucker. Fucking Honest to God. Honest to fucking God. These people are the slimiest motherfuckers in the world.
The fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would...
So, FBI, leave me the fuck alone. I'm not a part of this story. This man is not with me.
I'd like to know who... So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about at the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false. The allegation, as I read it in the New York Times, is that I've traveled with some 17-year-old in some relationship. That is false, and records will bear that out to be false.
How long has this investigation been going on? Do you know?
I don't know.
When were you first informed of it?
Again, I really saw this as a deeply troubling challenge for my...
He didn't answer that question, did he? Because he knows that would implicate Bill Barr and Donald Trump potentially in investigating him for this crime, which obviously he can't do.
Family on March 16th, when people were, talking about a minor and that there were pictures of me with child prostitutes. That's obviously false. There will be no...
Now, this is where he really fucks up. Because for those of you who have read the New York Times story, you might be thinking to yourself, pictures of him with child prostitutes? What? That's not in the story. Yeah, it wasn't in the fucking story. He's revealed that all by himself. That wasn't in the New York Times story at all. He's just openly admitted that he's being investigated for supposedly having what amounts to child pornography of him with child prostitutes. What now? Uh-oh. Matt Gaetz did a big fuck up. Because no one else mentioned pictures. You did that to yourself, my friend. Oh, no, 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 no. Do you see what I mean when I said his lawyer/lawyers must be tearing their fucking hair out? They must be tearing their fucking hair out. Oh, my. Yeah. Where are we? Where is it? Hang on. Retweets. Yeah, Matt Gaetz mentions that someone here has alleged photos of John Bruce. He claims such pictures don't exist. Where are we? Hang on, there's another thing somewhere, isn't there? Oh, I can't fucking find the bastard thing there. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't in the New York Times story. So there we go. Anyway, so but yeah, he's he's told on himself there rather more, didn't he? Just kind of slip up. So that's why I'm calling him Pizza Gaetz, because that works. Turns out all these Q people were projecting because they're all fucking pedophiles. Who would have known? Crazy.
Such pictures because no such thing happened. But really on March 16th was when this got going from the extortion standpoint.
So what happens next? I mean, you can say there is this investigation, I guess a criminal investigation. I'm not quite sure where the sex trafficking part comes in. I don't, again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand this story very well. But where does it go from here? I mean, you've made an allegation against someone by name on the air and accused him of trying to extort millions of dollars from your family. What happens tomorrow?
Well, what was supposed to happen was the transfer of this money that would have implicated the former colleague of these current DOJ officials. But that's obviously not going to happen tomorrow because the New York Times story was leaked in order to quell that investigative effort. So here's what...
Hang on, so you were going to give him $4 million? What? Or was that like a honey trap? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. He's making stuff up.
Needs to happen next. The FBI and the Department of Justice must release the tapes that are in their possession that were done at their direction. Those tapes will show that I am innocent and that the whole
It couldn't show you're innocent. That... Oh, fuck's sake.
Concept of sex charges against me was really just a way to try to bleed my family out of money and probably smear my name because I am a well-known...
You've done a pretty good job of smearing your own name. Because I wasn't thinking pictures of child prostitutes. You put that idea in everyone's head.
Spoken conservative, and I guess that's out of style in a lot of parts of the country right now.
Matt Gaetz, I appreciate your coming on tonight.
Thanks for giving me the chance to tell the truth, Tucker. I appreciate it.
It's a more interesting and complicated story than I knew from reading about. Thank you very much.
So anyway, Tucker then kicks it to a advert break. Standard procedure. It's a commercial broadcaster, etc., etc. I don't know why any companies would advertise with this fascist scumbag, but they do. Anyway, he then comes back from the advert break, and I think this is an execution of Matt Gaetz' career.
If you just saw our Matt Gaetz interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted. That story just appeared in the news a couple of hours ago. And on the certainty that there's always more than you read in the newspaper, we immediately called Matt Gaetz and asked him to come on and tell us more, which, as you saw, he did. I don't think that clarified much, but it certainly showed this is a deeply interesting story, and we'll be following it. Don't quite understand it, but we'll bring you more when we find out.
One of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted. It didn't clarify anything. Oh, fuck me. Just threw him straight under the bus. Like, just right under there. Oh, Matt Gaetz is fucked. Oh, anyway. Yeah, that's Tucker basically saying, no, this guy's not with me. No. Anyway. So, yeah, that's Matt Gaetz' career, I think, pretty much done. And here, he's a nonce, in case you didn't know. Big fat nonce. Big old pedo. And might very well be going to jail. Anyway, so, we've got... I think it's only fair that on Trans Visibility Day we deal with some transphobic shittery. It's a thing. So we've got a Prager video called Why Girls Become Boys.
If you know any middle or high school girls today, or if you are one, you're...
So, this person is called Abigail Shira, or Shira, however you want to pronounce it. This person is fucking trash. Absolute trash. She wrote a book called Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and for a pretty decent refutation of that, I'm going to allow a trans person to speak their mind on the topic. Abigail Shira, trans man. Where is that episode of the thing? There we go. Ty Turner, who is a trans man, did a fantastic breakdown of, a pretty decent breakdown of her awful book before we get into it.
All right, folks, grab your 2020 bingo card because we're about to cross off some wild shit. This whole situation is just so strange and uncomfortable, but I feel like I need to talk about it because what is happening is beyond unacceptable, and the people involved need to be held accountable. So first I'm going to talk about this book, trigger warning, so much transphobia.
I mean, this person doesn't really need my help with their channel, but as I'm using the content, I'm going to stick their channel in both of the chats, and you should go and take a look at their work. It's very good.
Yeah, but folks, strap in and be ready to watch till the end because this video takes a turn. It gets juicy. I've recently been made aware of a bizarre little book called Irreversible Damage: The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters, which presents itself as an educational resource for parents of transmasculine teenagers, though I do find it puzzling.
Yeah, I know. The mullet is unacceptable. Even on Day of Visibility, the mullet is never a good choice.
Globo, globo, homo, globo, homo,
Inappropriately timed, but thank you. Thank you to Nick Hayden with $2. They say, happy Trans Day of Visibility from this non-binary person. Also, Kev, can we make Orange Boy Summer a thing? Well, happy Trans Day of Visibility to you. To not just to that particular non-binary person, but to everyone. Yes. Orange Boy Summer can and should definitely be a thing. Where is he? Well, it's not even summer yet, so I don't suppose it matters, but he's not here at the moment. And yes, Orange Boy Summer. Fuck yes.
That the author Abigail Shrier decided to write this transgender parenting book despite not having any kids, nor does she have any gender studies, pediatric health, sociology, education, or experience that is actually relevant to the subject matter of irreversible damage. While the title...
Yeah, that's because literally all of the people who are against it don't. Literally all of them. Like, once you become educated in this topic, it's really impossible for you to remain like a TERF, it seems to me. Virtually all of the leading TERFs are entirely uneducated. They have feelings, they have opinions, they don't have facts. They're just spouting. It's just rhetoric, you know. It's like, where have all the lesbians gone? Well, they're not around you because they don't fucking like you.
Title doesn't leave much to the imagination, nor are there any new additions to the same recycled anti-trans rhetoric. Irreversible Damage is at least a little bit special in that I'm in it. And not because I asked or even consented to being included. But it's not just me. There's an entire chapter called Influencers that talks about me and many of my friends who have shared their transitions online. This book frames us in one sentence as infantile, cutesy, and then in the next sentence as vicious online predators who are on the prowl for little girls that we can manipulate and confuse and trick into taking hormones. I also just want to throw in here that Ben Shapiro is one of the people quoted on the back of this book, like praising it. So hold on to your P word. It's about to fucking suck.
Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass P word.
It's important to note here
there are some whores in this house.
That the premise of this book is based on the concept of rapid onset gender dysphoria that treats being trans as an imaginary condition that is also somehow contagious. It was a term developed on a handful of TERF blogs. The study that attempted to prove this phenomenon was laughably unscientific and blatantly biased, as in it literally didn't involve a single trans person. It was a questionnaire that was only posted on these TERF blogs, and it was
so high level information we've got going on there.
Exclusively interviewing transphobic parents who didn't like the fact that their teenagers were trans. But the main idea here is that when teenage cis girls are exposed to anything trans related, they decide to become trans. Her words. So I'm sure you can...
Again, anyone who says decide to become trans needs to be instantly fucking removed from the conversation. They don't know what they're talking about. Clearly.
see where this is going. You know, to go through this book point by point, dismantling each disjointed fear-mongering tactic would not only be a waste of my time, but a repetition of the many well-done videos and essays across the internet. So I put some links in the description to some resources discussing rapid onset gender dysphoria. One is an essay from Juliana Serrano, and the other is a video from the Queersplaining YouTube channel featuring Zinnia Jones, and both of the...
By the way, Zinnia Jones is badass. We used to follow each other on my old Twitter account before he got banned. There were some cool people who followed me on that, including Jeremy Corbyn. And I got banned. And now, some cool people follow me, but not quite that cool. You need to become cooler, motherfuckers.
These do an amazing job at breaking down just how flawed this concept is. But as for this video, I'm just here as someone who was written about in this book to give some thoughts on the influencer chapter. Now, before I get into any of the nasty things the author is saying about us, I want to make it very clear that some of the influencers mentioned in this book have chosen not to read what was said about them. And while I would already just like to stress that nobody should buy this book, read this book, don't even fucking Google this book and give them that traffic, if you do choose to seek this out, and I will be putting resources in the description so that you don't have to do that, but if you do choose to seek out this book, don't post anything that was said, don't tag anyone that was mentioned, just please be respectful of the fact that this is not shit you would want to read about yourself. And like I said earlier, we did not...
Well, you speak for yourself. I gleefully read Siparsky, who writes all manner of truly horrendous things about me, and I enjoy it enormously.
Sent to this. So let's just talk about what's happening here. So I knew the book was going to be transphobic based on the title, but I was not prepared for it to be so hateful. It's like the author went out of her way to be as hurtful as possible. She misgenders us. There's literally a line in the book that reads, "She uses they, them pronouns." And then, of course, the rest of the page is the author using she, her pronouns.
She uses they, them pronouns. She uses they, them pronouns. Oh no, TGG, I was just making a silly joke about it. Yeah, I probably wouldn't either, yes, that's true. Yeah, but I'm trying to process the phrase she uses they, them pronouns. She uses they, them pronouns. So again, Prager U have got nothing but the absolute best of the best. Cream of the crop, by which I mean monumental prick.
She makes a lot of like weird and just unnecessary comments about our bodies. These are real people that she's talking about. A lot of the videos that she's chosen are either of younger trans people or like videos we posted when we were younger. So like the one she's talking about me, I'm 17, and I got uncomfortable reading what she had to say because she's like making comments about my lips and stuff. It's just weird.
Bit Matt Gaetz. A little bit Matt Gaetz.
I don't know where you have to be in your life to be a grown-ass woman writing a book to be published where you feel the need to talk about the way a 17-year-old kid's lips look while also simultaneously calling him like a weird child predator or something. I don't fucking, it's out of reality. It truly is. She makes fun of the way we look. There's a part where she's describing a trans guy in a binder as having a bulldozed version of a woman's profile.
Fuck.
So that kind of fucking sucks. She makes
Abigail Shearer, she's such fucking trash. What an awful fucking who writes this kind of... That's the thing. TERFs are such dehumanising garbage. They really are. Which I realise that's kind of a weird thing, dehumanising garbage. Anyway, but they just... Yeah, they are fucking awful. No, don't bother calling Q. Q doesn't actually care. When it's a right-winger doing weird pedo shit, they're fine with it. Yeah.
Makes fun of our voices and the way that we talk, which is something that a lot of trans people have dysphoria around. In one part specifically, she's talking about a trans guy unboxing a binder in a YouTube video, and he pulls it out and he gets excited and he's like, oh my God, I got a binder, you know. She says, breasts may be painful reminders of one's birth sex, but apparently shrieking is not. Because, you know, men can't express emotions. Nice feminism you got there, lady. She also, throughout the entire chapter, goes above and beyond to describe all of us as feminine as possible. Okay, so here's a line. There's this one trans guy that she talks about that she clearly favors over the rest. So this is the person in the book that she was the nicest about. And this is a sentence.
Yeah, we're going to watch the Prager review video after this. Though, I've thought this through, okay? I know what I'm doing.
Of her describing him. Soft-faced, bare-cheeked, and mostly female-looking. Soft-faced, bare-cheeked, and mostly female-looking. What even is this book? Why? Why? The part that really rubbed me the wrong way is how she mocks our top surgery results. And obviously through this list, when I'm saying our, I mean just in general the influencers. Not all of these apply to me. I haven't had top surgery. But as we all know, top surgery is a pretty important milestone for a trans person. It's also very personal. So there's a section of this book where she's calling out a specific trans person by name, tells her audience where on the internet they can find these pictures and videos of this trans person's
That's fucking disgusting. I don't know if it's a crime, but it sounds like a bit duxy and a bit like, maybe go and harass this person, you know?
Top surgery results, and then makes fun of them, literally compares their body to an 8-year-old boy, all while misgendering them the entire time. So it's like she's not just trying to invalidate us, she's making a point to be mean. She's like the TERF Regina George with a less creative burn book. The point of this chapter...
Yeah, for TERFs, the cruelty is part of it. It's part of what they do. It's part of what they are.
Chapter is to offer up trans influencers as a scapegoat so that the parents reading the book can project their problems onto us. So it's great for parents who don't want to take any responsibility for ruining...
Yeah, by the way, in the Twitch chat, that's Sophia's channel. Go and follow Sophia Christina Botha, a fantastic trans creator.
Their relationship with their trans kids by being transphobic, because it not only absolves them of any blame by justifying their behavior, but also assures them that they, the parents, are actually the victims in this situation. And the claims that the author makes in support of this are a reach at best, if not entirely fabricated, so pretty much on theme with the rest of the book. Apparently, the trans influencer agenda is... Step 1, make teenagers hate their parents, which you never hear about in any other circumstance. So it must be the trans agenda.
It is, yeah. Teenage kids have always been really, really cool with their parents. It's one of the things. When you're a teenager, you always respect your parents. God, I hate the world.
Doing that. Step 2 is convince them that they're trans. And step 3 is to teach them how to lie, cheat, and steal their way into getting hormones. I'm not smiling because I'm enjoying this. I'm smiling because, I mean, at this point, you just gotta laugh. So let's go through the points of the trans influencer agenda quickly, briefly, just so we have an idea of what we're talking about here. So step 1, make teens hate their parents. Well, she's constantly reassuring parents that they are the voice of reason, protecting their children from the irreversible damage that is transition. While us influencers, on the other hand, want to convince kids that their parents are the enemy. To quote the book, they refer to skeptical parents as toxic and encourage their audience to upgrade to a trans glitter family.
Can we get glitter family become a thing? Is that a thing? Can we make that a thing? Glitter family needs to be a thing. I don't know. I've never heard that phrase, though.
So her attempt at providing evidence for this is by taking quotes from trans people that are all just very general pieces of advice and words of support to their audience, and then trying to twist those into somehow being an attack on parents. So as an example, she quotes a trans guy's video where he says, "True love is unconditional love, love without restrictions. For you to not accept someone as they truly are is you not loving them."
Well, let's make it our goal, a 2021 goal, to make glitter family a thing. Let's do that. I don't really know what it means. It doesn't need to have a meaning. It needs to be a thing.
Quote. It seems pretty universal to me. Well, here's what the author had to say about that. Parents of suddenly trans-identifying teens, beware. He's
trans-identifying teens. So it's just a phase or something? Like this, she just hits every trope. And this is just, again, in the same way that PragerU and Turning Point USA are just there to placate the hurt feelings of boomer motherfuckers that are like annoyed that the world is changing around them. Oh, why did you have to bring Gary Glitter into it, you knob? But yeah, please don't unsubscribe though. Anyway, yeah, so in the same way that that's for like boomers and shit, this book is just written to make transphobic parents feel better about their awful bigotry and their terrible parenting.
He's talking about you. If you question your daughter's sudden insistence that she is transgender, you do not really love your daughter. What is more, you are eminently replaceable. Whoa. There was a lot.
Yeah, also, yeah, trans-identifying teen is tit. Which is ironic, I suppose.
A lot of subtext in that trans guy's quote that I did not pick up on. Good thing Abigail Shrier is here to clear that up. In reference to another trans guy's video, she says, "But what do parents know?" By influencer's name, estimation, not much. When your child announces she's trans, influencer patiently explains your job as a parent is not to question an adolescent, but to follow her lead. And then she puts a quote in her book that didn't quite sound right because I knew I had seen that video before. So I went back and watched the actual video and she did not quote him correctly. Like, it is heavily edited and maybe she just decided to not mention that she edited the quote. Is it still a quote at that point? I don't know. But whatever.
No, it isn't. It's a lie.
Case, the point he was making in the video
so
still
admirably dishonest from PragerU's point of view. That's what they want in their hosts. Lying shitbags.
Pretty much comes across in the book, which is that if your kid comes out to you, don't tell them that it's just a phase. Don't tell them that you can fix them or that they're wrong, because there's nothing to fix. There's nothing wrong. They just need your support. And what she has to say about that quote is this. This message is ostensibly directed at parents, but what parents troll YouTube looking for advice from teens on how to raise their children? Of course, this advice isn't for parents. Not really.
Yes, we've got Aurora cats. Baby cats, baby cats, baby cats. Meow, meow. She had some head scratches. He likes having his ears riffled. He's a good lad.
It's
Orange Boy Summer.
A method of coaching their children, helping them fend off adults who might otherwise convince them to desist. So she's saying he's pretending to talk to parents, but he's actually trying to convince these kids that their parents are wrong. I love that she says what parents troll YouTube looking for advice from teens how to raise their children when A, this is a grown-ass man in this video. He's not a teenager. B, everyone fucking watches YouTube videos to learn shit. And C, in what world would she be better equipped to give parenting advice on...
Yeah, when I need to learn something, I go to YouTube. Because I think, well, someone will put it up. There's all kinds of... There's a guy who whittles pipes out of random bits of wood that I found the other day. I wasn't looking for it. It's just my fucking search results are mental. So I think if there's a guy who whittles fucking pipes out of old bits of wood, there's a fucking tutorial on everything then. Just anything. So when you need to learn to do a thing, YouTube. Obviously.
Trans topics than an actual trans person. Like, she's just gone full conspiracy cap with this. It's not really for parents. It's a code. It's a message for children to convince them. Like, what the fuck? Here's another one of her quotes that I like.
Baby
There is
cam.
nothing crueler, more toxic to trans gurus than parents who fail to jump on board with each step of gender transition and every tenet of gender ideology. She calls us trans gurus. I've literally never heard anyone say that except
trans gurus. Can I get some TGs in chat for the trans gurus?
For her in this book, and that's very strange.
That's almost as good as Nazi pug thug. The trans gurus.
Just a little note for you. Just weird. So yeah, she makes this big claim, but then it's like she realized nothing we're actually saying is nearly as outrageous as the word she's putting in our mouths. Because there's not a single quote from a trans person that contains the word toxic, and yet she's constantly claiming that that's what we're calling parents all the time and putting it in quotes. Meanwhile, all the actual quotes from trans people she's including in her book is just like, if the people in your life don't support you, I'm sorry, I'm here for you. She's like, can you believe it? Like, she gets to the point where she stops even trying to make arguments and back them up and just starts quoting us and, like, giving little snarky comments about what we're saying. Like, she includes a quote from a trans guy's video where he's giving support to trans people who don't have supportive family members. And he says, if you're feeling sad right now, I'm giving you the biggest hug in the whole wide world. And all she had to say about that was, just don't expect him to pay your tuition. And there's a part where she's talking...
So if you analyse that, they're saying your parents won't pay your tuition because you're trans, and that's fine, and it's the fault of the person on YouTube somehow. Am I reading that right? That's pretty mental.
Talking about a trans athlete who is literally not even an influencer, but you know how TERFs hate trans athletes. So she says, trans person was moved to encourage trans identifying adolescents to cut off their own mothers. Quotes the trans woman saying, I want you to know that it's okay to walk away from unsupportive, disrespectful, or even abusive parents. To me, that sounds like good advice universally for any kid. But the author says, that's a heck of a Mother's Day gift to mom. Am I all right, biological ladies, what's the deal with all these kids not wanting to be abused? It's like she just stopped.
That's a punchline and a half, isn't it? Fuck me. You don't get many more punchlines like that. Thank you to Sappy Fodder for following.
Trying to even make a book. Like, these just sound like YouTube comments. She also says that teens discovering trans content is like them finding pornography they're curious about, but not quite ready to see. Not quite. I mean, so what? Tell them to come back in a few years if they're still alive? Which actually segues in nicely to another thing that I would like to talk about. So trigger warning, this next part's going to talk about suicide in a section called, if you're not supported in your trans identity, you'll probably kill yourself. I mean, obviously she's titling this section sarcastically, but then goes on to tell the story of Leila Alcorn, who was a 16-year-old trans girl. Her parents were transphobic and abusive and forced her to undergo conversion therapy, and then she killed herself. And she left a letter talking about the abuse, talking about the transphobia. The author of this book misgenders her the whole time she's talking about her, and as I'm editing this, I just wanted to also jump in here and say that the case of Leila Alcorn goes against every point that she's trying to make with this book, which is, you know, that young cis girls think that it's easier to be men, and so they decide to transition.
Yeah, it's he, him is the pronouns for Ty.
But they're not actually men. They're just confused.
The person who's making the video.
Girls. And they don't become suicidal over transphobia. They become suicidal over other things. And that's the exact opposite of what happened with Leila Alcorn, a trans girl who did commit suicide because of the transphobia she faced for being forced to live as a guy. And I don't know if she thinks putting this in her book and acknowledging it is the same thing as refuting it, but she doesn't do that. She's just making a case that goes entirely against her own points. She also says suicide...
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's such an unbelievably trash book that she's like sarcastically saying, if you don't support them, they're going to commit suicide. But the thing is that they do. Not just, I mean, Leila Alcorn's the obvious example that's in the book, but the suicide rates are significantly higher for trans people. Like, what exactly are you joking about? What's the joke element of the joke there?
Suicide rates among the transgender identified are indeed alarmingly...
The transgender identified. There are so many things I want to say, but terms of service deny me. So I'll just say, do you remember my Irish friend Gil? I feel like Gil might be have something to say about this.
high. Nearly every trans influencer believes, therefore, that anything parents do to make their trans-identified teen's life harder, insist on employing the name they gave her, take away her iPhone, is unforgivably cruel. Yeah, I feel like if your kid is suicidal and you're actively making their life more difficult to live, you're not doing a great job. But of course, the author frames it in such a dismissive way to minimize the actual harm. Moving on, step 2 of the trans influencer agenda is to convince them they're trans. This one's pretty straightforward. She basically says that we blur the lines on the definition of trans so much that it has no meaning. She says, those of us plagued with social anxiety or officially on notice were probably trans. Oh, and this was in response to...
No, social anxiety is well known about, and so is transgender stuff. Look, it's well known about. Oh, we've got a cat again. Yeah. You like your ruddy kids? I think he wants to go out, and I don't think I've left the thing on, so I'm going to put the thing on. Hang on, I'll put an advert on. How about that? And then you'll just have to look at an empty chair if you don't see the advert. Alright.
to a YouTuber talking about different types of dysphoria, which she either misunderstood what social dysphoria is or is just like purposely playing dumb to make it sound like we're saying something that we're not, which she does a lot. So essentially here she's just arguing against a point that was never made. She says being trans has no scientific markers and, like recovered memories, depends entirely on a person's say-so, which is just factually incorrect.
Oh, bollocks, I'd muted myself. I said, if you want to see an empty chair instead of an advert, you can subscribe to me on Twitch. What a fucking perk, or whatever.
There's plenty of science backing up that trans people are the gender that they claim they are. The most notable one, the study of brain scans that showed trans guys' brains operate like cis guy brains, trans women's brains operate like cis women's brains in terms of both structure and functionality. All this and more, only a Google search away.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you get educated on this topic, and I'm not even that educated, but once you do get educated, you can't keep being transphobic. Well, you can be transphobic, but you can't be like, you can't claim that what you're doing is truth. That's nonsense.
That was as close as she got to making any sort of argument for this, so we'll move on to the final step of the trans agenda, which is, of course, teaching young girls to lie, cheat, and steal their way into getting hormones. The author says, deceiving parents and doctors is justified if it helps transition. It is ridiculous just hearing this claim when I've been a part of the online trans community for 7 years now, and I've literally only ever seen people adamantly advocating for smart, safe, and legal medical transition overseen by a medical professional. I've also seen countless warnings against the alternative, so this is nothing. So I think now you guys probably have a good idea of what's going on here. On top of being blatantly transphobic, this book is poorly researched, poorly written, and makes absolutely no compelling arguments. When I found out that the author, Abigail Shrier, is a triple Ivy League law graduate and writes for the Wall Street Journal, I was shocked that an author with such lofty credentials and connections would so quickly destroy the assumed credibility of her message to focus on lobbing petty and juvenile insults at a handful of specifically named trans people. It's just strange. I just wish she'd make up her mind about whether I'm a clueless little girl that doesn't understand her own gender or a conniving trans cultist out for cis blood. I would like to...
Well, that's typical fascist thing. Your enemy is both enormously strong and a threat, an existential threat to you, but also pathetically weak.
No, because I want to dress accordingly. I'm truly not here to argue with TERFs. This video is not for them. This video is not for this author. It is for you, my friends and my family, my audience, and anyone else who might have been hurt by reading these things. Because here's where the video takes a turn for the... So now here's where everything gets worse, because all of that was just context, all right? I felt it was necessary to show what this book is saying about us to make it clear that nobody who actually gives a shit about the trans community could possibly promote or knowingly contribute to the contents of this book. And yet, that is exactly what two LGBT YouTubers that I know have done. And that's why now I have to talk about Ariel Scarcella and Chase Ross. Let's start with Ariel. Ariel Scarcella is a lesbian YouTuber who has been posting transphobia.
She's a prick.
For years, while simultaneously denying being transphobic. I posted a YouTube video about 5 years ago calling her out for some of the transphobic stuff she was saying in a collab that she did with one of my favorite YouTubers. And he had brought her on to discuss trans topics and start a conversation that people could submit response videos to, and they'd kind of go back and forth. But instead of talking about trans issues, she decided to talk about her issues with trans people. So I was one of many responses from trans people explaining why a completely unprompted rant about how you're not attracted to trans women isn't actually helpful to anyone. But after I posted that, I had trans people that I know personally contacting me being like, hey, Ariel, she's just kind of like that. Like, she's not really transphobic. Like, just give her a chance. She'll learn. And at first, I got that response quite a bit from fellow trans people vouching for Ariel. But then as time went on, she continued to post more transphobic content, and more trans people stopped supporting her. A lot of videos have been made calling her out for her content. So within the last couple years, she has completely leaned into transphobia.
That's the only thing that gets any. That and her weird kind of softcore porn videos are the only things that get her any views at all.
She has now recently rebranded herself as a right-wing political influencer, even though her content is like 2% politics and 98% transphobia, almost as if she doesn't actually give a shit about politics and just wants an echo chamber of folks who hate trans people as much as she does. Who can never be sure. So are any of us really surprised that she's involved with this? No. But for years, trans people have been vouching for her and trying to have constructive conversations both privately and publicly, which is funny considering she has this stance of like, the left is so triggered by everything. I just want to have a conversation and nobody wants to have these conversations with me, which is what people have been trying to do for years. But Ariel cannot admit that she's wrong and that she's said transphobic things, now to the point where there's basically no trans people left to vouch for her. Even her own token trans friends who have gone out of their way to try to clear her name. For example, Calvin Guerra, who literally made a YouTube video for Ariel on his channel specifically addressing the claims against her of being transphobic so that he could paint her in a positive light and make her look good, in which she literally lies to him, backpedals, gets so defensive while he's trying to like be nice to her and trying to make her look good, and she's about to start a fucking fight with him. It's something. But
I haven't seen that, but
even Calvin Guerra has now stepped away. Like when Calvin Guerra is telling you that you're being transphobic. And it's more than just him. There's a lot of trans people who were previously her friend coming out and saying that they don't want anything to do with her anymore.
She used to post biphobic stuff as well. Okay.
And I think because of that, she's now just leaning into the transphobia, which brings us to why we're talking about her in the first place. Ariel has been promoting this book across her social media, as well as like tweeting back and forth with the author. So considering what we already discussed in this video about the contents of the book, I would say this is sort of our definitive answer here about Ariel's position, because not only is she promoting a book that is extremely transphobic, but it is literally calling out by name her peers, people that she has worked with, people that she has talked to, people like me that she has asked to be in videos, other people who actually were in videos, misgendering us, mocking us, making fun of our bodies and our voices and the way that we look, calling us predators. There's just zero room for deniability after that. So there's other stuff in the video, but it's not particularly relevant to the thing we're talking about. So yes, go and check out Ty Turner's work. Exceptional. Anyway, to the Prager U video by Abigail Schreier, the author of that absolute trash. This is she's a bad person. She's a very bad person.
Yourself. It would not be surprising if you know someone who identifies as transgender.
Again, identifies as transgender. So I'm just, every time she does that, I'm gonna pause and say transgender, because that's what she means, or that's what she's actually referring to, whether she knows it or not.
The latest statistics indicate that 2% of American high school students now identify as transgender.
Are transgender.
And the overwhelming majority of them are teenage girls. Between 2016 and 2017 alone, the number of females seeking gender surgery in America quadrupled. But if you graduated high school over a decade ago, it was unlikely that you knew anyone who was transgender because, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the condition underlying it afflicted roughly 1 in 10,000 people.
Do you mean that our understanding of science is has progressed in the last 25 fucking years? Well, tickle me pink. Who'd have thunk it? Medical science progressing.
0.01% of the population. Almost none of these cases were teenage girls. In fact, before 2012, there was no...
By the way, I'm just going to assume that the statistic she's bringing up is wrong. Because obviously, like, she's a hack. None of this makes sense.
No scientific or medical literature discussing adolescent girls who wanted to transition to the opposite sex. That doesn't mean that we didn't know about transgender individuals. Gender dysphoria, the severe discomfort in one's biological sex, has been studied for nearly 100 years. It almost always involved boys who began feeling it between the ages of 2 and 4 and were...
Right, but so what? Like, Jesus Christ. Every medical field takes a while to get really to grips with anything. We're only now beginning to glimpse the truth of, like, the universe or whatever, right? That's not a medical thing, but you know what I mean? Look, science takes a while. Our understanding of something 100 years ago is irrelevant to our understanding to it now. It's interesting from a historical point of view, that's fine, but it doesn't mean anything. It literally doesn't mean anything to our understanding now. In the same way that when creationists bring up Darwin isn't relevant to modern biology. He's an interesting historical figure, huge in the development of science, that's fine. But his understandings were, naturally, incredibly simplistic, and in some cases a little bit fucking wrong, because he had nothing to work with. We are, to a degree, standing on the shoulders of the giants that preceded him, you know? That's, to use the Newtonian phrase.
Were strong and persistent in their assertions to everyone around them that they were really girls. When a phenomenon that affects one half of a population, boys, suddenly begins affecting the other half, girls, and when its age of onset shifts from preschool to adolescence, something significant is happening.
But how do you know that anything has shifted? You haven't proven anything shifted. You've just proven that it wasn't, again, assuming that any of the stats that she gave were correct, which is very, very questionable. All you've shown is that our understanding of the problem... Oh no, it's not even a problem. Transgenderism is just a thing. It's a natural occurring thing. But I mean, when I say problem, I mean from like a medical perspective, it's a thing that needs intervention. So, our understanding of the issue was enormously incomplete, which again is understandable given that it was a science in its infancy. That's fine. So it wasn't that adolescent girls weren't transgender, it's just that wasn't studied. Very possibly because women's health wasn't really cared about outside of pregnancy 100 years ago. Because, you know, as long as they create the babies, they can then fuck off and die. Like,
in 2016, Brown University
was their general theory.
Public health researcher Lisa Littman began studying the sudden spike in trans identification of teenage girls.
In trans girls who were, teenage girls who were trans, or were possibly trans. Trans identification. So trans boys, in essence.
She concluded that peer influence and social media influence had a lot to do with this trans teen phenomenon.
Yeah, did you know trans men didn't exist until Twitter? It's literally that. I think that's the point, right? That's literally, I think, probably the point of why Jack started up Twitter, was he thought, there's trans girls, but what about trans boys? Let's make some girls into boys. Yay, social media. Shut the fuck up.
After all, based on parent reports, none of these girls had exhibited symptoms of gender dysphoria at the age that it typically first presents, early childhood. YouTube, Reddit, Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram all host popular social media influencers, today's version of Hollywood stars, who...
No, not really today's version of Hollywood stars, because, you know, there are still Hollywood stars. Yeah. Trust me, I'm a very small person, but, or a small account or whatever. I'm quite a large person, unfortunately. Anyway, yes. As a person who some people would describe as an influencer, trust me, it's not the Hollywood life. And you don't have the Hollywood reach. Even if you're a big YouTuber, you don't have the Hollywood reach. It's nonsense. It's fucking nonsense. Littman never actually studied trans kids at all. Well, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Yeah.
Insist that if you feel uncomfortable in your body, you're probably trans.
No, who has ever said that? Who has ever fucking said that? Look, there's a chance. It could be dysphoria in a sense that you're possibly trans or whatever. But it could just be that you might need to, like... you need to just lose some weight or get healthier or put some weight on, build some muscle mass, whatever. What is she talking? No one's ever said that. This is just a straw man. You reach right into my life, Kevin. Oh. Well, if I do, can I ask you to stop being a cop, Joe? Just a thought.
Many promise that if you start a course of testosterone, all of your problems will go away. There's every reason to believe that these girls are experiencing real psychological pain. Rates of anxiety, depression, and instances of self-harm are all at record levels for this generation.
And you're not helping. You're making that problem worse, you fucking prick. By bullying trans kids, who are already people who suffer from higher levels of those issues, anxiety, depression, suicidality, suicidal ideation, etc., etc. You're making it worse. You're helping to bully them. You're not just that, you're writing a book that is literally teaching parents that it's okay to mentally, and in some cases I would probably assume physically, abuse their children. You're making that problem worse.
A quick fix becomes very tempting, so it doesn't take much.
Yeah, a quick fix. Is the process of transit for the trans people in the audience? How long did it take you to undergo any kind of medical intervention, like a physical medical intervention? Because from what I understand, it takes fucking years of anything to get any kind of surgery or whatever. It takes you fucking ages to get onto any kind of hormones or puberty blockers or whatever. It's not a quick fix in the fucking slightest. In fact, it's quite a slow fix. It's a very slow fix. 7 years from data portal, just for the pills. I mean, that's ridiculous. What kind of... Unless you're a fucking tortoise that lives fucking 300 years, 7 years is not a quick fix, Abigail. God damn it. A quick fix. What a fucking abhorrent piece of shit. Honest to God.
A YouTube video, a friend's suggestion, get a troubled girl to buy into the fantasy that gender transition is the answer. Unfortunately for these girls who do not have typical gender dysphoria, gender transition rarely offers relief. And it's a catastrophic mistake for psychologists, educators, and the medical establishment to rush these teens towards a solution that will almost certainly harm rather than heal.
Again, you'd have to actually show some evidence for that. Abigail, why is it that you feel that as someone who isn't remotely qualified in any of these fields, you get to say, it's dangerous that these people who are qualified in these fields are doing a thing that I don't like? Honest to God. There's obviously, look, appeal to, what do you call it? Appeal to, expertise or whatever the fuck it's called, fallacy, right? And that's fine in a general sense, but when you have experts in a very specific, highly specified medical field like this, whilst you shouldn't just take everything they say individually for granted, appeal to authority, thank you, is the exact name of the fallacy, or the general name of the fallacy. Yes, when you have no training whatsoever, and the overwhelming weight of opinion in any given field is completely against you, it would, I think, behoove you to analyse your own prejudices rather than just say, no, it's all of the medical professionals who are wrong. All of them. Fucking all of them. But then again, if you were capable of self-critique, you probably wouldn't be a TERF.
Because here's what's not in dispute. Unnecessary medical gender transition causes irreversible damage.
How do you define unnecessary? Please do elucidate my audience on that for us, Abigail. What's unnecessary? Because you seem to think that every single person who identifies as trans is like fake. So you would suggest it's all unnecessary? To which I would say, eat the entirety of my balls. All of them. All 9 of them. Thank you to Emperor Julian for following on the Twitches.
High risk of infertility, sexual dysfunction, and the creation of a permanent medical patient. Tragically,
we're all permanent medical patients, don't talk shit.
We've made it far too easy for kids to take this path.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to be trans. Oh yeah, you just walk into your doctor's office and say, give me the fucking hormones, dickhead. Let's have some top surgery, let's fucking do this. And they go, yeah, you're right. I agree with you, random person who's just walked in off the street that doesn't even have an appointment to the GP. No, you're absolutely right, Abigail. It's so simple. It's so straightforward. It's not like they have to go through an enormously arduous process of medical evaluation, and they have to live as their gender for X number of years, and they have to literally present in that fashion, and blah, blah, blah. They have to jump through enormous amount of hoops, and then they have to deal with transphobic scum like you constantly attacking them, and the media attacking them, and right-wing shitbags passing fucking laws to try and get them, like, to not even be able to take a fucking shit in the public toilets. No, it's real easy. It's so easy. It's so easy. Oh. Just need to calm. No, Gil, stop. Stop now. Okay? Terms of service, motherfucker.
before they're ready psychologically or emotionally to make such a life-altering decision. Testosterone is easily obtained by today's teens. In Oregon,
Easily. It's very easy. It's so... You just go in there... Doc, give me the fucking testosterone. And he goes, how much do you need, home slice? Oh, you need 6 gallons of the stuff. Here you go. Have 10 on me. Boof. Shut the fuck up. I just... The blatant lie of all of it. The blatant lie of all of it. And the worst thing is, I feel genuinely sorry for like all trans people have to go through all of this fucking shit anyway. But for trans kids in America especially, you have to pay for that shit too. Like, so if you're poor and a trans kid in America, you are like the mountains of shit you have to crawl through to just even start the process. It's just it genuinely is inhuman that they would like force people to go through that. The fuck? It's like you're trying to... If you had to produce a system that made, like, put people down the path towards suicide because of the fucking stress and the hatred they face, you could barely construct a more perfect system for trying to fuck up people's mental health than the system, especially in America because of the money, but it's the same to some degree in Britain and various other places that I've heard the stories of trans people from. You could barely come up with a better system than this for trying to completely fuck people. It's unbearable. And even the slight opportunity they have, like in here in Britain in the Tavistock Institute, you get fucking transphobic scum funded by American Christian garbage bags to try and take away even that one little flicker of light. That light at the end of the tunnel, they even want to snuff that out. Sorry if I'm sort of ranting or just rambling now, but I don't know why they can't just let people fucking live. I don't know why they can't just let people be. Trans people are not trying to hurt you, Abigail. Trans people have no fucking interest in you, outside of the fact that you're attacking them now. But if you hadn't done that, no one would give two fucks. You could go and write your stupid fucking, illegal arguments in the fucking Washington Post or whatever. I don't care. I don't care. No one would give a fuck. And I'm not trying to speak on behalf of trans people. This is entirely my own thoughts, of course. But no one would care about you or Ariel Scarsella or anyone else. No one's trying to hurt you. In fact, not only are they not trying to hurt you, they're not hurting you in any way. How is the existence of trans kids, be it male to female or female to male, whatever, how is their existence hurting you, Abigail, in any fucking way, in any substantive fashion whatsoever? I don't see what your issue is with it. Like, and don't give me some bullshit like, oh, won't someone think of the children? Because if so, you wouldn't be like an uber-capitalist piece of shit for a start-off, because capitalism drives children into unspeakable poverty around the world, so you clearly don't care about it that much. But even if we just say you care about, like, white, rich kids in America, whatever, right? You're driving them to increased anxiety and suicidality. Now, what's worse for a kid? Being taken seriously and going through a medical transition that you personally don't like, or being treated like fucking shit and them having killed themselves. I would suggest your position and the outcomes that come from that, increased suicidality, hatred of one's family, transphobic and bad parenting towards kids, is significantly worse, both for kids and general broader society. Because trans people add a lot to the community. Trans people add a lot to society in general. The was it Deputy Health Secretary or whatever it was in America is a trans woman now. She has put years of public service in. She has put years of public service into health administration, both in Pennsylvania and now at the federal government level. It's if she had not been taken seriously at some point during her process, if she had been driven to suicidality by fucking trash like you, America would be a poorer place. A much poorer place for it. Now, that's just one person. We're talking about thousands and thousands of people. Not just that, think of the people who get murdered because of transphobic bullshit that gets inculcated by people like you. I'm not saying you're directly responsible for the murder of trans people, but they do get murdered at higher rates, and the police don't take it fucking seriously. Think of the human life, the human potential that is lost in all of this. Let alone to say the communities and the families that are hurt by all of it. And you don't fucking care. This is the thing. You don't really care for these people. You're not interested in caring for these people. You have a preconceived bigotry against this thing. Now, to a degree, one can't choose how to feel about a topic, right? You can like certain things and not like other things. I think it's disgusting that you personally don't like it, but again, now we're getting into the weeds of can you choose a political position or not, whatever. It's a little bit of philosophy, I suppose, or is it philosophy? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. The point being, I don't care if you hate trans people particularly, because bigoted scum like you are always going to exist. That's never going to go away. What you can do, though, is shut the fuck up. Okay? If you hate trans people, that's on you. That's an issue you have to deal with. And I hope you come to terms with that and come to peace with it, that they exist. And also, fuck you. But trying to force your bigoted scum on everyone else, trying to smear shit onto an entire community, trying to deny them of their rights, deny them medical procedures which are absolutely necessary for their lives. That's unacceptable. That's when you cross a line. That's when terms of motherfucking service. Trying to stay calm. Good. Aurea81 Brakwa Dragon with 200 bits. Thank you enormously. And Succubus Yuri with 10 gifted subs. Thank you. To both of you, I will do unspeakable sexual things. I mean, genuinely ungodly sexual things. I hope you know that. I love you all. Deeply. Anyway. So I ranted on for about 10 minutes there. So, yeah, hopefully that made some sense. I don't know. That was sort of stream of consciousness. I wish my local politician sounded like Kev. Aw. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyway, oh God. I hate this person. I mean, to be fair, she's probably not the worst person who's ever hosted a PragerU video, but there's something about the intentional spitefulness of her that I just... It angers me. Really angers me.
15-year-old can walk into a gender clinic. Yes, there are now gender clinics all over the country, and walk out the same day with a prescription for testosterone without her parents' permission.
Is that actually true? I bet if we looked into that, that wouldn't be true, would it? I mean, also, I don't really care that much if it is true. Frankly, I think it should be a lot fucking easier to get hold of that kind of stuff, but yeah. What's this? Shuffle Kitty the Cat with 69 bits. Nice. That is indeed the sex number. And there's a clip. What's the clip of?
What is...
Hang on, what's this? Hang on a second. Copy that. Sorry, I have to, because I'm on a different thing, I have to copy and paste the bastard. Right. They've given a clip. What's this?
What is this?
You can either watch me, watch Vosh, or you can watch me, watch Has, watch Vosh.
Who is this?
I wonder if he sticks around until Vosh starts watching Vosh, and then you could watch me, watch Has, watch Vosh, watching Vosh.
Yeah, that's a brain melter.
I say my arguments, you say your...
I do not like this. I do not like looking at this. And I don't see Haas anywhere. What is this?
Oh, for fuck's sake! So that's now us. Hang on, who's? Oh shit! This is a teaser for the modern age, people. Who is watching who here? I think it's Sansol's stream. Yeah, just because it's Sansol there. Okay, so that's you watching me watch Sansol, watch Socialism Done Left, watch me, watch Vosh, watch Vosh. I think the React Andy stuff's gone too far. I think it's gone too far now. It needs to stop. What's this? Ferret falls asleep dramatically. Well, you have my attention. Oh, that is adorable. Oh, look at his little face. We're having that again. Wait for it. Wait for it. Boom! Lovely stuff. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you very much for all of that nonsense. Oh, the hype train didn't happen again. For fuck's sake. Twice it's teased my dick. I've got dick teased twice by the fucking hype train. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Back to this transphobic nonsense. Fuck no.
16-year-old girls have been able to undergo double mastectomies, the removal of both breasts, without even a therapist's note.
Again, I highly doubt that. I fucking highly doubt that. Because adults can't even get that without a fucking therapist note, can they? So how is a 16-year-old able to? No, Sib Wolf. Sorry, another different point. No, it should have triggered the hype train twice, because they've been one thing away, and then someone's done the thing, and then the hype train just goes away. So I'm being dick teased by the hype train, which is, I mean, I shouldn't be sticking my dick in a train, I suppose, but can a train can't not consent? It's an inanimate object. Well, it becomes animate with steam and stuff, but you know. It's not a sentient being. So go and fuck all the trains you like, if that's what you're into.
Predictably, hasty gender transition, remember we're talking about teenagers here, is now leading to a lot of regret. New testimonials appear on YouTube almost every week from teens who acknowledge that they made a terrible...
Yeah, this person, Graves, you have to be... they were 22 and needed a doctor's note. Yeah, there's no fucking way. There's no way a 16-year-old did that shit. Shut the fuck up. Absolute nonsense.
...mistake and warn others not to make the same one.
Yeah, exactly, but why focus on the infinitesimally small number of people who are regret transitioning? And by the way, if there are people that do regret transitioning and they go back, and that's perfectly valid, that's entirely fine, but that's a really small number compared to those who don't. Like, and not just that, but if you regret it, okay, that's fine, but that's still a decision you made, and that's, I mean, we all make decisions that we might end up regretting, and you live with it and you get on with your fucking life. Like, it's not nice, but I'd rather have a few people who detransitioned and have to live with the consequences of that than tons and tons of trans people denied medical access and killing themselves. Because they can't live with that, because they're literally dead at that point. That seems like a much more reasonable position. But then again, you haven't reasoned yourself into this position, Abigail. So trying to use reason to get you out of it is rather moot, I suppose. How is the 16-year-old paying all that money in the US for that surgery? Yeah, true, good point. Very fine point. Presumably, it's a millionaire 16-year-old. One of those people that definitely exists.
So how do you protect your daughter from being drawn into this dangerous and growing trend?
Have you noticed this sounds like satanic panic stuff? How do you stop your child from slipping into the arms of Satan? Like, there's a real, like, boomer, A lot of boomer bullshit energy coming from this. It's quite sad.
First, limit their exposure to social media as much as you can. Several academic studies have already linked the alarm.
Yeah, don't allow them to socialise in any way. If they talk to other people, they might get dangerous ideas about this rock and roll.
Alarming rates of anxiety and depression to young girls' punishing experience on social media, a place that often makes them feel sad, unattractive, and alone.
Again, I don't think you're in a position to judge, considering the bits that we saw from Ty Turner, where you literally purposefully described these people as being ugly. You made physical comments about these human beings, calling them ugly. Which, by the way, I'll do silly jokes and stuff, so I'm not like a perfectly clean slate myself. But I'm not out here saying, well, you shouldn't be on social media, because people might say rude things about you and make you feel bad. Like, that's what she did in the book. She literally did that in the book. So again, you don't care. You're full of shit.
Second, oppose the teaching of gender ideology in your kids' school.
Gender ideology. Need I say any more?
In California, gender identity education begins in kindergarten and proceeds through high school.
No! When you send your kid to school, they educate them about things. Yeah, no shit. They send kids to school and they fucking teach them about the world around them. What the fuck is wrong with you? What do you want them to fucking teach? Hang on, we've got a thing for later. Yeah, what exactly do you want them to teach? Exactly, just God is good. Yay, Jesus. What? Also, these appear to be ghost people. I don't trust them.
The theme is that kids' gender identity is totally independent of their physical sex and something that only they can know.
Yeah, because that's true. Again, you're literally saying you send your kids to school and they teach them things that are true. Scary. Fucking hell.
Schools can and should insist that every child be treated respectfully without sowing gender confusion in an...
Oh, so you should treat them with respect unless they're transgender, in which case you should bully that shit out of them. The fuck? Do you hear yourself, lady? Really?
Entire student population. Third, and most importantly, remember that a teenager is still just a teenager. You don't have to agree with every identity proclamation your daughter comes up with.
Yeah, and no one has ever said you do. It's about teaching them that, okay, you're in a loving, safe environment here, and we'll make sure that whatever decision you make, we'll honour and respect that, and we'll go through the medical procedure and whatever's comfortable for you, whatever's best for you to set you on a good course for your life. That's what we'll do, because that's what good parents should do in every situation, is try and guide their child to some degree. That is true, and try and make sure they avoid the pitfalls, and you teach them how to eventually avoid the pitfalls themselves of life. And when they fail, you pick them up and all the rest of it. But you just try and generally, like, not fuck your kid up completely. Because if they say, I am transgender, and you say, no, you're not, get out of my fucking house, that's not good parenting. You're going to fuck up your kid completely. Especially if they're homeless. Just saying.
Knowledge of her identity will develop over time. Until then, being the adult in the relationship is the most loving thing you can do. So just completely override the will of your child and completely destroy their self-worth and all of that. Yeah, that's super pog, Abigail. I fucking hate you with a passion. I'm Abigail Schreier, author of Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters, for Prager University.
You make me want to do forced feminization and forced masculinization to everyone, Abigail. You make me want to force everyone to do the transgender thing. Just personally to annoy you. Just to annoy you. I don't even care that, morally speaking, that would be repugnant beyond belief. It would piss you off, and I'm prepared to make that sacrifice. Okay, the MBs, we'll leave the MBs out of it. But everyone else, get in line for the fucking hormones. This is happening. We need to piss off this random horrible bitch. Yeah. Anyway. So we've got as a palate cleanser. Oh, I want to boop the nose. Boop. Boop. Anyway, so that's a thing. Yes. So that's the main topics for tonight's proceedings done. But there was another thing I wanted to take a look at, which was the Destiny watching... The debate we watched the other night, right? The Serfs versus the weird bootlicker guy. The army bootlicker chap, if you remember him. But specifically, we watched that, but I want to watch Destiny's reaction to that, because I'm sure he's a dickhead about it. Oh, hang on. He's talking to the serfs now, isn't he? What?
The contest? No, right? It usually.
Oh,
says
they literally
sign
do.
up
This is
now,
live.
and you'll also get a whole bunch of like blah blah blah, and we
Okay.
get to send you newsletters and.
Oh yeah, sure. So
stuff,
again,
right?
I'm not disagreeing that like they probably should have made the, or not probably. I think legally you need to make the terms and conditions clear on the landing page. My only issue is that the way it's being characterized is it sounds like there was a huge scam and nothing was ever given away. That was my issue with it. In terms of like, should they have been more clear about the condition and everything? Yeah, definitely. I think so, for sure.
Well, yeah, that's one reason of many, but I think well that demonstrates not only they're going to be duplicitous in their nature, but that is just like par for the course with their recruiting tactics, which seem to be primarily focused on recruiting younger people, right?
Well, first of all, of course, because the military needs younger people, right? So of course, you don't want to recruit people in their 30s in the military, right?
And yeah, so I'm against that. That's like I guess you and me differ in that, right? Like you're
okay. So then. So on a more macro level, then you think that the military should shift their focus into recruiting like people in their 30s or late 20s, or
no, whenever they turn legal age.
Okay.
Adults should be able to make adult decisions. I don't think kids should be influenced into joining the military. Usually based on the fact that it's sold to them as something other than it is, right? Like, have you seen commercials on TV? Like, have you seen those commercials? They're like some.
Hang on, we'll come back to this. I want to actually watch the thing you did. So, what's this?
But now, when Lycan brings up an organization,
going to allow now Lycan to have 5 minutes. I see the clock, and I got to go get something quick for the debate. I promise it's worth it. Can you?
We already heard the. Hang on. Is that normal? Oh, so he's got it sped up. Sorry, okay, right. So Destiny's got the thing sped up, but yeah.
Debate whether or not those on Twitch ought to be exposed to the military or recruited and choose to join the Twitch stream.
So we'll skip past the opening statements because we already know all that.
Claim that the military is a viable option and
or
they ought
most
to be
of it,
recruiting
anyway.
people because he will be called a bootlicker, as I'm sure I have been called many, many times. And I will use the last moment of this to...
No, Destiny doesn't engage with the left, honestly. That's all. No. But yeah, so this was Lycan, army bootlicker, Dylan, decent guy who's the host / moderator, and Lance taking the opposite. Destiny is kind of libertarian, but I expect him to do some bootlicking of his own. And Destiny hates the serfs because the serfs are on the left, and Destiny hates the left because Destiny's a garbage bag.
To baseline the audience is watching this and say, hey, I'm not a fucking Republican, so knock it off. yield my time.
You want to begin, Lycan?
I think the war crimes thing is, I don't want it to dominate a lot of this debate because I don't believe that that's the really pertinent part. So I think we should address it first. At the end of the day, you're not going to get me to disagree with you. The military has done some bad shit, and the military probably in the future will be responsible for bad shit. One thing you have to acknowledge is that there are some things that, such as the secret bombing of Cambodia,
Will I debate Destiny? I mean, I would if you wanted to, but I've no plans to, if that makes sense. I don't know what we'd debate, to be honest. But I've no issue with talking to Destiny. Have I considered running for political office? Oh, well, I've considered it and went, no, that's not for me. You have to lie too much. I don't like the dishonesty of it all. So, yeah, I probably won't be doing that.
A great example of something that is not really the fault of the military. While the military did execute, that was a policy that wasn't guided by the primary factors within the military. They were tools of that execution, were they not?
They were. Would you apply that same standard to any other Twitch streamer? Would you say that it doesn't matter?
What do you mean?
So if any other Twitch streamer did something that you find that's egregious, obviously there's going to be a bar, right? Like you probably don't think someone like Shane Dawson or Onision has any place on a Twitch platform. They're groomers, right? They actively try and have sex.
I actually don't know who those people are, but okay, I would agree with that.
Really famous YouTubers, sure. The really famous YouTubers.
But we wouldn't say YouTubers shouldn't come to Twitch.
So would you say that there's a bar that is set at some point where you're like, there's a set of actions that either as an organization, because there's such a thing as like streamer houses, all right? So there could be, or companies can stream on Twitch as well, like, you know, or government entities. So would you say that there's a set bar of standards where you qualify that someone shouldn't be allowed on the platform?
There's a bar where I would say someone shouldn't be qualified on the platform. Would I say that you're
not an organization?
But I mean, you know, we're not talking about NAMBLA here, right? NAMBLA starts streaming on Twitch. We've got my vote. Get them the fuck off of it.
I'm going to do the same joke again and just say, yeah, NAMBLA have probably raped far fewer people than the US Army.
Right?
So, okay, so what if there was a streamer house, all right? And it's got a whole bunch of famous people, XQC's in there, you know, Trainwrecks is in there, whatever. And I'm not mentioning those names because they're going to be associated with what I'm about to bring up next. But what if you found out in that streamer house, there was a whole bunch of sexual assault going down in the streamer house? I mean, the presence on Twitch is known as, like, you know, this entity.
Right.
Oh, this is actually such an easy slam dunk for Lycan, right? I don't think that any organization has ever been banned from Twitch just because of bad things going on in the organization. I don't think this analogy is good for Lance.
Well, yeah, but it's not just a thing going on in the organization. The American Army does these things as part of the course. It's like a core part of who they are. No, I did not go to Eton, so I probably wouldn't be able to make it into the British government. Which party would you run in? Oh, God. Well, I would have, when Jeremy Corbyn was Labour leader, I would have had, again, the hypothetical that I would have run at all, which is I wouldn't, but it would have been them. But having talked about trans rights and stuff earlier, for the trans rights weirdness of the current Labour Party, I couldn't run for them either. I mean, they're still better than the Tories in a number of ways, but I couldn't do that. Fuck the Lib Dems. I don't agree with Scottish separatism particularly, although I understand if they want to leave, that's absolutely fine. I couldn't blame them. So literally, I don't think there is a party. I wouldn't be a great leader, because the thing is, and bless you, deep big eyes. Enormously. You've honoured me enormously with your words. But it's not. I don't think you're necessarily correct, because, unfortunately, you have to like unify lots of different disparate people, and part of me wouldn't enjoy doing that. So there'd be too often I'd be like, oh, fuck this person, and then that becomes the soundbite. So you can't. Yeah, I wouldn't be a good leader. Sorry. I could definitely never be Prime Minister. That would never happen.
I mean, we had
nowhere near like well connected enough for a start. Even if you ignore my lack of political like experience or whatever.
The giant Me Too movement within the gaming and streamer community last year, and during that time, there were organizations where people were found out to have done some pretty awful things. Those organizations were not barred from Twitch. Do you think Methods should not be allowed on Twitch?
Correct. Nice.
I think Methods. I don't know who that is. And then you're like, I don't know who that is. What did Methods do?
Okay. Hold on, real quick. Okay. I think Lycan is going to lose this debate, okay? So I just want to point out like a quote-unquote debate tactic here, okay? Because there's one being employed right now, okay? So when Lance brought up Onision and another person that said they were grooming, Lycan understood the point that he was making, and Lycan just granted him that. Lycan started with, I don't know who those are, but sure, if they're groomers or whatever. It's not Lycan was like, yeah, if they're groomers, then they shouldn't be allowed on the platform. Notice how Lycan didn't know immediately, but he assumed he's bringing them up in good faith. These are bad people, they shouldn't be allowed. But now, when Lycan brings up an organization that he says has committed wrongs, And then he says, should they be allowed? Well, now Lance is like, well, I don't know anything. Well, can you tell me that? Now Lance is diverting. Instead of just granting to Lycan, like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe those are bad organizations that did bad things. What Lance should say is, well, if they did bad things, then those organizations should be banned from the platform. That's Lance's correct response. That's what he's logically committed to based on the premises that he's laid out so far.
Method is an organization.
Oh, he's so debate, bro, isn't he? Fuck me. Hype for the Kev fuck that noise party. Dope. What about the Northern Independence Party? Actually, I'm trying to get someone from the Northern Independence Party on my channel. We'll see if they can make that happen. Anyway, yeah, but for those who don't know, this is the north of England. There's what's called the Northern Independence Party, who want to create an independent Northumbria, as it would be called. They're a separatist movement in the north of England. We were about to go full fucking former Yugoslavia on this motherfucker. We're going to have individual little towns and cities become countries or something. I don't know. Plus, I'm not technically in their geographic catchment area. Birmingham's too far south, apparently.
And so there were members of that organization.
We'll see where Lance goes from
Although
here.
they do have members outside of it. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be... I don't think I'd be automatically allowed to be a member of the country.
But I feel like right now what Lance is doing is he's asking a question to see if Lycan says something that he is going to find a disagreement so that he can trip him up on this analogy, and then he's not going to be forced to answer. But ouch, that's a really, really rough start for Lance to pull out like the disingenuous bullshit immediately. But we'll see.
That we're accused of.
See, it doesn't matter what Lance does, Destiny's just going to shit on him. He doesn't care. It's so bad faith.
There were members of various organizations. There are members of Riot. Do you think League of Legends games shouldn't be prominent in Riot?
So if the organization itself, all right, has a problem within it in which its statistics seem to denote that is not only committing acts of sexual assault upon its own members, as is the problem with the U.S. military, for example, I would...
Oh my God. I don't know if Lycan prepared for this debate or studied or what, but that's also... I'm sorry, hold on. I'm just hitting on the strike here. The rhetoric is very good. Bringing up Riot is also a key counter to his point. Riot was condemned for a lot of this. Should Riot be banned? Right? And this wasn't just one person. This was a culture of this at Riot. Should League of Legends be banned? Should League of Legends...
Yes, that organization doesn't have a place on Twitch because there seems to be systemic problems going on within the organization.
So you say that. You say the systemic problem of sexual assault against its members, but would you again hold a...
Well, I'll generally 225, if I do have, or 255 I should say, if I do have someone on, I will ask them a general question about like why they've chosen that geographic cut-off. Because there are various places that are sort of just on the border. Yeah. Is the Northern Independence Party pro-Europe? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'd have to research a lot of that before I did, if they do come on, which I don't know. But
if the University of Maryland had an esports team, and the University of Maryland, as in the university.
Oh, this is a good another example, but Lycan should have made him forced him to answer the Riot one. That was a really, really, really good example.
Yes, at the University of Maryland, we're streaming on Twitch. You know, every college campus has a sexual assault problem that they're trying to deal with. Would you say no colleges should be allowed to stream on Twitch?
If those colleges had been involved in the global arms trade as well as the global suffering...
Well, hold on. No,
now he's pivoting. Oh my God, he's such a snaky little fuck. Oh, I hate him so much. I'm hoping, listen, okay, I don't know if Lycan is like the most fucking skilled debater. Fuck, I hope Lycan can hold him down here though. God damn. He's so, now, because what Surfs did was he provided like some, like, what felt like not only a necessary, but a sufficient condition for saying somebody should be banned from Twitch, because he brought up Onision, because, okay, hold on, I'm trying to follow the rhetoric here very close so I can point out.
No, but the point that you seem to be missing is, dear Manlet, Stephen Burnell III, is that the US Army does all of these things, so it's not just a sexual assault problem, it's arms dealing, it's genocide, it's bombing innocent people. It's all of those things.
Like, why this is so disingenuous. The people that...
Why would anyone hate the serfs? Because Destiny's garbage, that's why.
Lance brought up earlier were people like Onision and somebody else that were like just groomers. Onision wasn't involved in like the global arms trade or anything like that. And then Lycan is countering, oh, well, look, hey, here's like two really good examples of where this stuff has happened. And now Lance, he knows his argument has been defeated. Now he's going like, well, hold on. Are colleges involved in the global arms trade? Huh? Right? Rhetorically, Lance looks strong here because it's a good point. They weren't involved in the global trade. But like logically, it's totally inconsistent. Can Lycan hold him to that?
He's just such a weird technicality debate bro douche. Fuck me.
Can Lycan point that out? And it sounds like Lycan is, because now Lycan is countering back.
Yes.
Well, again, wait, we're gonna slow this down a little bit, okay? Because Lance is employing a lot of dumb fuckery here that I want to be able to identify and catch. Okay, sorry. Let's go back.
The sexual assault problem that they're trying to deal with. Would you say no colleges should be allowed to stream on Twitch?
If those colleges had been involved in the global arms trade as well as the global suffering
Well, hold on.
of millions
No,
of human beings, yes.
Well,
if you're
again,
talking about,
we're talking about all these different issues, but again, these are
I'm trying to put them to the same standard is what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to say, would you apply the same standard to the U.S. military that you would apply to any Twitch streamer or organization? And my answer to that is yes, I am trying to. I think that they have a right to enforce a TOS. It's a private company.
Oh, and now Lance just pulled it way back from the example. Come on, Lycan, you got to bring it back. Oh no, Lance managed to slither away from these, because these examples brought up so far just completely and totally destroy this party argument. But I don't know if Lycan is gonna.
It doesn't destroy anything. The point isn't just that they do sexual assault. It's that on top of the other things. Like, oh, fuck's sake. The idea that you can compartmentalize all of these different things is just absurd.
That the U.S. military can be on the program, or sorry, on Twitch or not. And we're going to get into recruitment down the road, so we'll talk about that later. But if the amount of like war crimes that the organization had performed, which in my opinion so far are amongst the worst of any developed nation, why would I want that represented on this platform? Like
because the military represents so much more than the war crimes of the past and the potential of the future.
To a lot of people, it represents death, destruction, and genocide.
Again.
Well, first, oh my God. Oh God, he's such a brainlet. The U.S. Army is literally just genocide, 100%. That's all it is. Oh.
But he didn't say that, you lying cunt. He literally just said, to some people, it represents death and destruction. For instance, say the Vietnamese people. The U.S. Army represents death and destruction because that's all they've ever seen from it. Yeah.
Oh God. I think I'm gonna get triggered listening to this. Come on, Lycan. Don't, Lycan, he's running you around so much. Dude, Lance danced away from where he was like crushed. Like, oh my God, he danced away from this, all of that so well. Oh no. Come on, Lycan.
And maybe that's where this portion of the debate ends, is the fact that you cannot hold every member of the military responsible for it, and you can't even hold the military as an entity itself, which is constantly changing, constantly evolving. You can't hold that entity itself responsible for every action of the past. Like, you hold the people responsible for executing it. You remember that this happened and you try to implement.
You can't, hang on, so the military does a thing and you can't blame the military for the thing the military did? Are you fucking mental?
This policy and enforcement of certain things that prevent this. A thing I wanted to bring up is that I know your feelings about the police, and the military has a significant, as far as war crimes on an individual level, the military has a significantly better reputation for handling those who fuck up and do wrong than any police entity in the United States. It's one that holds them to great account. The military imprisons and then kicks them the fuck out. Now, are there occasional cases of...
That's not true, though. The military doesn't do that regularly. Or certainly not consistently.
People trying to cover it up? Absolutely, right?
He's walking. The Surf's, I think, I already had the libel, because Surf's like, well, I'd say the police shouldn't be able to recruit on Twitch either. That's how he's going to respond to this whole monologue, I bet. But we'll see.
We're going to have that. But overall, they take it way more seriously than the police does. So if we're talking about an individual level and whether or not that entity at our, the normal person's decision-making capabilities within that entity, how they act and how they police themselves, the military is not bad.
The military is entirely bad.
In terms of like self-policing and self-reporting, the amount of sexual assaults that are occurring currently in the U.S. military by its own members has been increasing dramatically, especially towards men. If you told me today, Lycan, or if I brought this to you, if I was like, there is an entity or an organization in which 80% of its female members have experienced sexual harassment.
Hello?
And 25%, 1 in 4, have experienced sexual assault, we would not be having this talk. You would be like,
we
yes,
would be having to talk about, yes, they have a huge systemic issue and it needs to be unfucked. And my understanding, if you've read the same papers I have, a recent report from the Pentagon in, I believe, 2019, it said that reporting is on the...
Well, if it's from the Pentagon, it can definitely be trusted then.
the rise, and they are believing that that is to be with the efforts they're trying to make
And like, it needs to go back to the college thing too. What about all college campuses where how many women report being sexually assaulted?
An environment where people are comfortable reporting, and that
they also say that there's
it's just creepy that he's like, yes, the college sexual assault thing, and it's just a debate bro meme to him. That's all it is. He don't fucking care. He doesn't care in the slightest about these fucking people. What a douche.
There's an enormous problem of underreporting. The stats that we have, which are already outrageous, are the ones that are coming from people who are brave enough to come forward about these stories.
Yeah, the issue of sexual assault in the military. Go ahead.
You go.
So that was from Lycan, so we'll have Surfs respond. Surfs, then back to Lycan.
Okay, so when it comes to that, if that was an ongoing problem and one that was demonstrably getting worse in terms of the numbers going up, especially sexual assaults of men, I mean, we're talking, I believe it was close to 17,000 cases were reported, over 17,000 cases were reported in 2017. By 2019, that was over 20,000 cases were reported. Now, I know that has a lot to do with maybe a change within the organization for people to come forward. However, if the numbers are currently going up, then that is something that immediately as an organization, it's not something that we take a step back and be like, well, there's a few bad apples, true. But while they're sorting that out, their monstrous problem of almost 1 in 4 women being sexually assaulted, then I'm sorry, they don't have a place on a platform that is going to be used prominently by 16 to 24-year-olds, by the way, because when I looked this up, it says the average age of a 2019 Twitch streamer is 16 to 24. That's 41% of the majority.
Wait, okay, so when I looked this up last, the overall average rates were 24% in the military and 18% on college campuses. While 6% is very significant, especially when we're talking about something as egregious as sexual assault and harassment. Again, but as far as the relative numbers, I mean, do you want kids to not go to college campuses? Do you, again, not want colleges to be represented here?
Has nothing to do with me wanting kids to or not go to college campuses. This is the U.S. military. Do I want the U.S. military to exist on the Twitch platform is the question.
Oh, he's such a snake. Dude, Lycan, please don't let him walk away from this. Lycan, this is like...
How is he a snake exactly?
Lycan has already actually ended the debate. If he focuses on this point, you have to make this slimy
and
fuck.
if you want me to hold me to the same standard, right, which you're saying, should universities have the ability to broadcast on Twitch? If the university...
255, if you want me to supply something, you link it on Twitch chat. Because I can actually fucking get pages to pop up from link chat. From Twitch chat.
The organization has this huge problem. My response is, first, they don't have the same problem that the U.S. military does. The college campuses don't have anywhere near as much male sexual assault as the U.S. military does. It is an enormous problem within the U.S. military right now. But on top of that, I would say that if you are asking me if a college campus can also be on the program, then I have to add other factors to it, not just the sexual assaults, but the fact that, yes, they are engaged in and actively engaged in crimes against humanity. Which again, I think would disqualify them from being on here.
You keep ascribing the crimes against humanity to to every person within the military. And
it's so dishonest. No, he's not saying that. They're saying the institution, the military, the army, whatever, is doing it. Yeah, it's not saying every single person needs to be held accountable for the actions of one military unit. It says that video is unavailable, 255.
Into the military in an unjust manner. You were ascribing it to them as we'll go to Kissinger it's a great example. The bombing of Cambodia. These weren't decisions. Yes, the illegal bombing, which I guess I have to say this because if I was watching chat, I'm sure I'm being called a bootlicker and a chud and all kinds of things.
You are a bootlicker.
It was fucking horrible. It was wrong. It led to an incredible genocide, and the country has been not the same since. It's been horrible, and we've done nothing to really fucking fix it, right? That's awful.
Agreed.
We should. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the United States Air Force, the United States Navy that is, as an entity, as responsible as Henry Kissinger is.
Again, Henry Kissinger is to blame and should be in jail for his crimes. But the people who did it, because again, you can't just say, I was following orders. We know Nuremberg happened, and we know... Yeah, that's the one. Okay. We know Nuremberg happened, and we know the consequences of that. You send me weird clips. No. That's just a weird clip. Why did you say what? 255, what the fuck? What are you doing to me? Did they shake that dog's nipple? Apparently. 255 is weird. It's disappointing. It is disappointing, Joe, absolutely. You should arrest him.
So, you're using the Nuremberg defense right now in this.
Oh my!
You're just following orders.
God, that's such a okay.
Doesn't absolve.
Oh, that's a good argument. You just go
them of any of it. That doesn't absolve any bombers of what they did. That doesn't absolve the 2 people who dropped the nuclear bombs on Hiroshima.
How many of those people are serving still?
How many people are active duty personnel from the war in Vietnam? I would assume 0.
I actually think that's probably true. So again, the military is constantly evolving. It is constantly rotating people. I don't think anyone from Abu Ghraib is still in there. I don't think anyone from the Master Fox Company in Afghanistan is still there.
Oh my God.
Okay, would you apply that same logic to any other organization that had...
Stop lagging.
the same amount of blood and casualties on their hands, right? Would you then say...
Notice how he keeps pivoting back to these generalities where Lycan is trying to hammer home a point or figure out would you do this, would you do that? And then the Starks is just backing up to as soon as his condition has been defeated or has been shown to be irrational, he'll back up into another condition or he'll back up into something different because he doesn't want to actually focus on that point anymore.
For a start, I'm just saying other people do bad stuff isn't a defense of the bad thing that they were doing. Also, the point is, cumulatively, the evils the US military does means it shouldn't be on the fucking platform. Elysian Gauntlet with 100 bits says, Kev, didn't we watch this one already on another stream? We watched this one, but we didn't watch Destiny's reaction. Would you prefer to watch something else? Is that the point you're making, Elysian Gauntlet? Lovely burb. Burb action. Okay, what would you prefer to watch then? I'm open to suggestions. Oh, but he's fucking loving that. No, I wasn't suggesting it was weird 255 just because nothing happened in the clip. I wasn't suggesting the person was being inappropriate with the dog. I was just saying there was a pretty boring clip. Alright. Yeah.
Well, if we're going to apply that same standard to the worst slur in all of human history, blah, 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 then we should all probably just stop trying to say it. We should stop making money off it. We should stop using it in media. We should just get rid of it as quickly as possible. And then it would just make everything better if we really believe that it's that problematic.
So you're saying from a fair standpoint that
he's doing N-word stuff live now.
It's going to be the maximizing the best possible scenario for everybody.
Yeah, or even, I mean, you can even argue this from a deontological or virtue ethics standpoint. If we think that that particular word is so bad, it's hard to imagine that we would ever accept like anybody using it, that it would be ever good. At least using it in a way to make money, selling it to audiences that shouldn't use it, because that shit's just going to lead to so many weird problems down the road.
Okay, so if fair is the bad word here, then it's hard for me to wrap my head around this concept. But I don't think if one.
Oh yeah. Hello, Sophia. Go and spam your links, and everyone go and follow Sophia. She's awesome.
While they're in the middle of oppressing them, they have a right to also point at them and say, "I'm going to dictate your speech." That's what I'm trying to get at.
But we would. We absolutely do.
Well, no, we are doing that.
We should.
Doing that, yes.
If black people came out, if black separatist groups came out who were identified as a nation of Islam and they wanted to say some like crazy anti-Semitic shit, we would police their language as well. We'd say like, hold on, I don't give a fuck if you're being oppressed in society or not. You can't get away with saying shit like this. It's having really bad effects on society.
Absolutely, I'm not disagreeing with that. So I guess the only thing you can look at this is as a prescriptive statement, as in we ought to do this in the future. That's the only way in which you'd agree with me in that principle.
As a prescriptive statement, we ought to do this in the future. Like nobody uses the word at all.
That's what you said earlier. No, not that. Well, that we have a right to make that after we've basically eliminated inequality, and especially racial inequality.
No, I don't think that we can allow some harms to be perpetuated in society just because another inequality exists. These two things are wholly unlinked to each other. Like, for instance, indigenous peoples in Canada seem to have a really big problem, like being raped and going missing and the police not doing anything about it. Now, that seems to be the case. I don't know if that's been fixed in Canada yet, probably not. That seems to be the case. But like, even if somebody cited that wouldn't mean that I would allow, say, like a native ceremony that involved some sort of harmful thing that produces a really bad effect on society to occur just because they're currently experiencing oppression by Canada. Like, we would still be able to dictate things that are overall beneficial to society, even if some oppression occurs. I don't think these two things are linked at all.
Yeah, so what you're referencing is called the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women in Canada that goes along a place called the Highway of Tears. So you're saying that the government of Canada itself shouldn't be allowed to, or should be making active prescriptions in order to solve that in the interim?
I'm saying that whether or not a particular group is being oppressed isn't going.
Fucking boring. Should we call it a night? I know this one's been slightly shorter, but should we call it a night? Unless there's any suggestions for stuff that you want to watch now. What's this? Firefighter cop told she tried to help George Floyd. Oh yeah, I haven't really covered that debate. Not debate, fuck's sake. The case.
Hey, cookies. But no.
Oh, this fucking... Stop linking me the same fucking things. Ooh. Anyway. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'll leave it a second for you to... If you've got any ideas, check out this vid. What vid? What vid am I supposed to watch? You have to actually give me a link. To end it. Limbed. Fuck's sake, okay.
Now today we had a big contrast in temperature across the UK, just 12 degrees over coastal parts of eastern England with cloudy skies, but in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from Llanfair Pwllgwyn, gallwch Gerech Windrobwll, Llantysilio Gogogoch, the temperature got to 21 Celsius, that's 70 in Fahrenheit.
Well, that is a fine way to end tonight's proceedings, I feel. Oh, that's the wrong fucking one. There we go. Boom. Yes, so I think I'll let you all go. Yeah. Yeah, that is the name of a... well, it's not really a town, it's more just a railway station, but it's,
Ha!
Everyone measures a criminal. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, good teleprompter. Well, yeah, but he probably practiced, didn't he, beforehand? Anyway, yeah, so I'll just do a quick bit of shilling. And then I'll... kick the Twitch people over to something, and I'll be gone. Yes. If you're on Twitch, go and subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm Kevin Logan on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go and follow me on Twitch. It's KF Logan. Twitch TV /KFLogan1875. It's free. You can do that for free, and it helps. It all helps. And if you want to contribute financially, you can subscribe there, which will cost you $5 at tier 1, and you get the emotes and all of that jazz. And my undying love, by which I mean sexual lust. Yes. But unless you've got an Amazon Prime, if you've got Amazon Prime, link it to your Twitch account for free, and you get one free subscription every month, and you can use it to give me $5 of Jeff Bezos' money. And basically, anyone else having that money, especially me, is better than Jeff Bezos having it, I think, because he's got too much money. And we can change that in a tiny way. Yeah, so you can. What else is there? Streamlabs. Although if you're off air, I probably won't see the message. So if you wanted to Streamlabs me stuff whilst we're off air, I will probably not read the message out loud, because it'll probably be gone by the time I get here. So all of that shit. What else have we got going on? The Patreon. Patreon, if you want to give a regular recurring monthly donation, it's linked below on both of the channels. Thank you. I'll be back technically later today for a Thursday show, because it is technically now Thursday. So I will kick you over to who is going on the Twitches. Let me have a quick shufty look. We've got what a Femme Critique up to. Bill Clinton is a war criminal. That's what they've got going on there. Who else? Schmoople? What are they doing? No, nothing of any. I tell you what, we'll go to some random geek who is a non-binary person. I think that's fair, given its trans day of visibility. So I'll go over there. Raid the channel. There we go. You can go over there and say hello from me. And I'll be, like I said, I'll be back later on today. I don't know doing what. Something. There'll be things. There are always things. Politics never fucking stops. Anyway. Yes. Thank you all for listening and watching. No passing around.